Park in Norwalk. Under the blue Ohio skies, it's only been a week since the tragic death of two-time champion Scott Kalitta. And the fans have shown their respect and their sadness at the Kalitta pits. The Kalitta cars returned to action, and there was an appropriate, appreciative crowd. They gave Connie Kalitta, Scott's father, a standing ovation. You'll see many mementos and memories displayed in honor of the young champion today. From time to time, each of us is reminded just how fragile and how precious life can be. And last weekend at Englishtown, reality hit all too hard. Funny car driver Scott Kalitta launched down the racetrack during the last session of qualifying. Seconds later, he was gone. The entire racing world was left stunned, mourning the death of one of the sport's great veterans. People close to Scott Kalitta know that he was not ordinary. In NHRA, the 46-year-old was a giant, both off and on the racetrack.
The Kalitta family, you know, they are drag racing, and Scott, I just told somebody the other day at the March meets, as a kid, my reason for wanting to be a funny car driver was watching him work on his alcohol funny car years ago, and you know, I remember that like it was yesterday.
Scott Kalitta was born to race. The son of NHRA legend Connie, a pioneer in both Top Fuel and funny cars, Scott worked alongside his father for years and eventually got his start in alcohol. He moved up to the professional ranks, and he collected his first national event win in a funny car in 1989. Kalitta was a bulldog in the cockpit, a guy who could drive the wheels off anything. And he lived up to that billing in 1993, when he not only took home his first Top Fuel victory, but became just the fourth driver to eclipse the magical 300-mile-an-hour mark. But Scott Kalitta was just getting started. In 1994, he became the first driver in Top Fuel history to win 4 straight races, and that was good enough to propel him to his first Top Fuel championship. In 1995, Kalitta repeated as champion. He then stepped away from the Powerade drag racing series for nearly 3 years, but returned to Top Fuel full-time in 2003. 3 years later, the versatile driver returned to his roots, making the jump back to the NHRA's funny car class. And although success eluded him since the switch, Kalitta enjoyed the challenge and the allure of the short, wheel-based nitro-powered machines. In Chicago just 2 races ago, the DHL team sent their driver to the final. Kalitta's first in a funny car since 1989.
Oh, man, you know, I mean, the couple years that we've been fighting this funny car, you know, for us to just go rounds today, I'm happy. I may not look like it. I'm just wore out. I haven't gone this many rounds in a long time. So I think maybe we're turning the corner here. So, yeah, I think we'll be back.
Great to see you there.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Scott Kalitta's great accomplishments on the track are just a small part of the legacy he leaves behind. In his 334 career races, he made the final round over 10% of the time, and he won half of the finals in which he raced. Yes, he was a fierce competitor and a brilliant technician behind the wheel, but Scott Kalitta also had an enormous sense of humor and a big heart. He was a loving father and a husband, and to everyone he knew, he was a loyal friend. For more, here's Dave Reed.
And how Doug Kalitta, Dave Grubnick, and Hillary Will can be here competing this weekend, we may never know. But the mood here in the pits, exactly as you'd expect it. It's fairly somber. It's fairly... As fans come by with well wishes for Scott and his family. But after talking with Jim Oberhofer, John Oberhofer, and a lot of the other members of this team, they said, simply put, they needed to be here this weekend. They needed to spend time with their extended family, and they needed to compete, while at the same time needing to figure out what happened to Scott's car so they can avoid this horrible tragedy once again. Now, granted, there is a tough week ahead for this team as a private burial comes their way, but Hillary Will said it best when she said, there's no other place I'd rather be than right here this weekend. Gary Gerald.
Well, Dave, certainly it is a welcome return to competition for the three teammates of Scott Kalitta. And in terms of the qualifying positions after the abbreviated sessions yesterday, it's Hillary who leads the trio. She's in the 7th spot. Grubby is in the 13th position, and cousin Doug is number 16. For each of these teams, optimum performance certainly is sought. It would be welcome, but it's far from being the most important thing on their minds on this day. For a few moments, as they slip into the cockpit, they'll be able to push aside the bitter grief and sorrow that's been a constant companion all week long. And hopefully they can take a necessary step along what figures to be a lengthy path to healing. We wish them all well.
Tributes paid. The silence begins to go away and will soon be split by the roar of over 8,000 horsepower. The engines are lit. Hillary Will, a Kalitta car, is one of the first to go out. She will face J.R. Todd. The business at hand, racing down the quarter mile. Side by side, they come out of the water box, and we're ready. Summit Motorsports Park in Norwalk, Ohio. Beautiful area, northwestern Ohio. Lots of things to do. Beautiful time here in the summer. And we look at the Lucas Oil ladder as we come to first round of Top Fuel. A little later, Rob Fuller will face Doug Kalitta. Tony Schumacher, he may be strong, but so is Bob Vandergrift.
Got some great matchups on the other side of the ladder as well. Corey Mack and Morgan Lucas, that's going to be a good one. And Antron Brown going up against Steve Barnes.
But right now, the business at hand is this pair, Hillary Will and J.R. Todd. Todd lost to Will at Pomona. It's the only time that they've met this year. And he only has 2 round wins this season. He would really love to turn the season around. His first season with Lucas Racing. Hillary, 5th in the points. One of the cars withdrawn at Englishtown after the accident. And she is one of those who have said, get me in the cockpit. Get me so I can blot everything else out. We're ready. Well, that one's going to go down to J.R. Todd as Hillary Will has her problems. 487 with a 6, 299 miles an hour to a losing 527 with an 8.
That was a great driving job by J.R. Todd. Actually had to backpedal that car early. Watch the right side of your screen. You're going to see him right there. Backpedals, get back in as that thing started shaking the tires. Then Hillary started spinning the tires, and that allowed J.R. Todd to drive around and get the win.
As you can imagine, it would take one more look at J.R. Todd and Hillary Will go down the track and J.R. take the win. There has, in this last week, been a great deal of conversation about the accident that took the life of Scott Kalitta. The NHRA has now responded with a rather ambitious plan on how they are going to approach it. We spoke with Graham Light of the NHRA.
Well, as is usual with the case, any incident, we do a complete investigation, which includes hiring an outside expert. Dave McCandless is involved in this. He's an accident investigation person. But there's some areas that we're focusing on. One is what was the cause of the explosion, and Dan Olson and his team are working with the Kalitta team. Secondly, why the parachutes didn't deploy. We've already contacted the parachute manufacturers and SFI to just look at, is there a better mounting procedure, better materials that could be used. Also looking at the effectiveness of the brakes. When you lose the body on a funny car, you lose downforce. The brakes aren't as effective, but there was very little braking indication information in this particular incident. Why was that? Are there better systems? What can be done in the future? Beyond the technical side, we're looking at facilities and gravel traps at the end. I've already been in contact with the FIA, getting all the information that Formula One has done on gravel traps, looking at catch nets, restraints, solicit actually he volunteered, but Jim Head is going to work with us. He has extensive knowledge and done a lot of work with the United States Navy on aircraft carriers and air bases with restraining jets that are in a runaway situation. So we're hoping that through all that we can find some new technology, some better methods, and I just assure you that our goal is to make this sport safer than it is.
Is there any timeline or anything coming very soon at this point?
Well, you got to be careful not making knee-jerk reactions in any incident, because sometimes the action you take could result in some problems elsewhere. But the timeline is as soon as possible, as soon as the research is done and we've done testing and what's reasonably feasible to implement change, we will implement. As you mentioned, the investigation is ongoing. It's not completed by any means, and there may be some other things and areas that we need to focus on when that is complete, and we will do that.
And of course, the approach is not to point fingers, but to find some answers. Well, you saw Antron Brown go side by side with Steve Torrance, and Brown, who started on the pole in Englishtown, takes his first win today with the lowest ET of the race. We go to Gary Gerald. Yes, Hillary will.
Hillary, we can't begin to imagine what you and your teammates have gone through in this last 8 days, but getting in the car today, yesterday, how good that feel to you?
Felt really good. Just now, I just went up there. JR's my friend. He's a great driver, and I just thought of it's just me and JR out there driving our race cars, having fun together. We didn't win the race, but I love driving, and that's what Scott was out here for. He didn't get paid to do this. Scott did this to spend time with the Kalitta Motorsports team and KB Racing were like a family, and it was for him to come out here and spend time with his family, and his son Corey worked on our team. And I didn't realize how close everybody really is out here. It's a racing family. Ashley Forrest letter, and I even gave Tony Schumacher a hug today. So a lot of love going on, but we're racing and we want to win, and I'm bummed about that. But I'm gonna go cheer for my teammates and just enjoy the day. Sun's out and Summit's behind us. It's gonna be a good one.
Thank you very much.
The sensitivity of the fans has been pretty amazing. We should probably add that there are investigations going on by the New Jersey State Police. Ford is looking into everything, so is Delphi, the people who build a little blue box that records data. The data has been retrieved from that box. So everybody's looking at this in a very scientific way. And Mike, it appears that we're on the way to answers.
Well, and NHRA is actually doing absolutely all the right steps, because it's always a series of events that leads up to a tragedy like this. It's never just one thing. So because of that, the NHRA is looking at a number of areas. First of all, it's engine failure. We're also going to look at parachute materials and possibly different materials, the way the chutes are mounted, brakes and brake systems, obviously the shutdown areas at the other tracks, and they're also going to look at the vehicle speed.
One of the things that was interesting to me, I talked with both Jim and John Oberhofer, and nobody at Kalitta, they have the engine back, they don't have any idea what made the engine explode, and that kind of worries them. They'd like to be able to put their finger on some answers. Eventually they will. You're looking at Troy Bout, and he goes head-to-head now with Doug Herbert, who is 8th in the points. His crew chief, Kevin Pointer, turned 41 on Friday. I don't know why he's bragging about that. Nevertheless, it is the truth. And Doug has 6 first-round losses this season. Troy Bout, kind of new to that car. Well, Herbert gets away from that first-round loss. Saspet, he runs a 4.69, 297 miles an hour, and I see a sigh of relief from the new 41-year-old.
I'm sure he liked what he saw right there, because that car was on a pretty good run. We saw Antron run that fantastic 4.61 elapsed time. Kevin Pointer, their car was on a pretty good run. They went 273 miles per hour at the 8. That's 10 miles an hour faster than Troy Buck, because he had a cylinder out, and then the car basically kind of nosed over on the other end for whatever reason. Let's take another look at it. Right here, they had good numbers, not great numbers, tires, but solid numbers through the middle. But then that speed at 8th track means it started to charge. He ran that 469, but he saw the cylinders go out, probably lost the belt just before the light. It slowed down to 297 miles per hour, but still a nice pass.
A top fuel round one continues, and coming up very quickly will be Doug Kalitta and our number one qualifier, Hot Rod Fuller. Kalitta is our upset alert. Is he going to be able to take out the Rod? We're about to find out. Stick around. We are at Norwalk. Year it has been. Little sportsmanship to far end. Doug Herbert, thanks Troy Bump for the run, the good time, and it moves on with the win at the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals. The weather has been a factor throughout the weekend. I don't think we're going to have a problem today. Just to recap, they had sweepers on the track on Friday, and that just all but eliminated qualifications. They got them in yesterday, but today we're racing. And there is Brandon Bernstein over Luigi Novelli. Brandon runs a 468 with an 8,304 miles an hour.
Well, that was a nice pass for Brandon Bernstein. Now, lane choice has been going back and forth between the left and the right lane. We saw two very good runs in the right lane. Hillary Wool took the left lane and smoked the tires. Tim Richards, though, he decides he wants to keep that lane. He didn't spin the tires, but it definitely moved over a little bit off towards the middle, put a stone on the other end. It's still quick enough to get him in the second round.
Well, Mike, the weather conditions are dramatically different, as Paul just spoke about. We got abbreviated qualifying, only 2 sessions, and that was dodging raindrops yesterday. But the big key to today's weather is the fact that the grains are way down, about 20 to 25 grains, and that means basically the engine has to burn less water out of the fuel system, and that means these cars have a heck of a lot more power today. So everybody's concerned about their power curves, especially when they get out about to the 660 part of this racetrack. That's about half track. They said it's going to be a little bit loose through there, and that's why these guys are a little concerned about how their cars are going to run today.
And usually what that means, the water displaces the oxygen when there's a lot in there. So what they'll do is usually they'll lower the compression, compensate that to take away a little bit of horsepower because they do have better air.
And Gary Gerald now has Brandon, who will face Antron Brown next round.
Looking ahead to Antron Brown. That was a 68, but you said when you got out, it did spin on you?
Yeah, it was spinning way down the track, about 1,000 foot on, and got me kind of over towards the center line a little bit. But, Tim will make the adjustments, and we'll have something for those guys.
All right, thanks, Brandon. Let's go to check in with that guy, Lewis.
Well, we talked about the upset alert on race day between Doug Kalitta and Rod Fuller. Here's some of the facts to back it up. This is the 236 race day start for Doug Kalitta. And prior, from the number 16 spot, this is the 5th time actually overall. He's actually beat the number 1 qualifier twice, Tony Schumacher, and of course, Rod Fuller. So we'll see what happens. That is a tough pick there for Rod, racing Doug Kalitta, the quickest man in the history of the sport.
Yeah, but he has not won a round of racing since Bristol, so I hope the math works out for you guys.
It's definitely going to be a tough road to hoe for Doug Kalitta because he really struggled in qualifying yesterday. They've been having big-time trouble dropping cylinders. Now, with the water grains being a little bit better, that's going to be less likely for the engine to drop a cylinder. Doesn't mean it won't. John Oberhofer still has to have the right tune-up, the right load on the engine to keep all 8 cylinders lit. Then the problem becomes, since they haven't ran on 8 cylinders, how is that clutch application, how good is that going to be? Rob Flynn, on the other hand, he really has Hot Rod running very well. Teammate Antron Brown already ran low ET of the meet. So this should be a good matchup.
Well, so much for the upset. Hot Rod Fuller runs a 464 with an 303 miles an hour to a losing 473 for Doug Kalitta. Science and math goes out the window just past the starting line.
Well, that's right, but that's what happens when you lose 2 runs in qualifying. You're just kind of trying to take a shot at it. But I'll tell you what, give John Oberhofer, the entire Kalitta team, a nice job based on what they did yesterday to get that car. Ran pretty well to half track. Doug did his job on the starting line, almost 300 second advantage off of the starting line. Just didn't have it right through the middle, put some cylinders out, and that allowed Hot Rod to drive around and pull away for the win.
And
And as we look forward to Funny Car, the fourth pair, there's going to be a prime-time matchup coming up. It involves our #1 qualifier. This man, driver of the AAA of Southern California car, Robert Height. It's going to be intriguing because he gets to race his teammate, Mike Neff, a man he's never beat. More on that plus more first-round eliminations from Norwalk.
Round 1 eliminations. Top Fuel continues. There's Morgan Lucas, 11th in the points, only 29 points out of 10. And Corey McClenneth and Corey Mack is on the other side. He lost first round here last year, the only race they've had for the NHRA here, and he lost then to Bob Vandergrift. Taking time or what? That was nice. Corey Mack is the winner of 4:64.308 to a losing 4:66 by Morgan Lucas.
That was a good race. I don't know what's going on the starting line. It looked like Corey took his time going into pre-stage, and as a result, Morgan probably said, well, I'm going to take my time going into stage. Corey went in first, and then Morgan came in right after. But not taking that look at the run, this was a good race. Morgan had just a little over 100th of a second advantage off the starting line, pretty much dead even. And Morgan was actually running faster at the 8th mile. He's running almost 274 miles per hour. I think if that thing hadn't quit running on the other end, he would have gave Corey a race. But if you take a look at our Lucas Oil photo finish cam, Corey gets the nod by just about a quarter car length.
And that'll put Corey Mack up against J.R. Todd when they come back for second round. Gary Gerald now has Doug Kalitta.
Doug, we saw Hot Rod Fuller come over and embrace you, and I can only imagine what kind of support you've been receiving this entire week from people within this community. Can you tell us what that's been like?
Yeah, you know, Hot Rod came over and said, you know, if it was a race that he was kind of hoping that if he didn't win, it wouldn't have been that big a deal as that one. But, you know, just the whole Bill Baird family here and all the fans really supporting Scott. You know, I was going down on the run there just praying. I didn't see Rod there, and I was just hoping I could get the win. But it was a close race, and you know, we'll just have to get after the next race, and we still have Grubnick up there, so hopefully he can get the job done.
Look forward to seeing you in.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
You know, we probably should mention, as long as we mentioned some birthdays, that Jim Oberhofer celebrated his 40th yesterday. The crowd here, they're just celebrating a beautiful day and a great racetrack. This is a beautiful facility, and you can hear the crowd come up because they recognize that on the line now is Connie Kalitta as he watches his driver Dave Grubnick pull back into position, ready to take on Larry Dixon. Dixon was supposed to race Grubnick in round 1 at Englishtown, but of course the Kalitta car, Grubnick was withdrawn. Grubnick runner-up at Phoenix to Larry Dixon, but he has 8 first-round losses this year.
Larry Dixon been kind of hit or miss this year. It seems like, you know, when they're on the game during the race, they can carry that through. But boy, when they're struggling, a lot of times they haven't been like Tony Schumacher. We see him struggling, and then Alan Johnson kind of gets a handle on it and takes off. David Grubnick right here, obviously not having a couple of runs on Friday probably hurt them. Connie Kalitta, he's watching the tune-up. James Riolo, this is basically Connie's car. Connie has say in all the tune-ups, but he's probably had a little bit more say in this car than the other dragsters, even though he does work with James on the tune-up. So Connie's going to take a good look at this, and hopefully we'll see if Grubby can do the job here.
That's good, and Grubnick does it. Grubnick, 463, takes down Larry Dixon, 464.
Nice job.
Dixon, who's had a good season, been to 4 final rounds, but he gets taken down by Grubnick.
Let's take another look at onboard from Larry Dixon. Both drivers pretty much left dead even. You saw Grubnick get the advantage off the starting line. Some stones went out, and Larry just didn't quite have enough to catch him on the other end. This was a very good run because, you know, Connie Kalitta, he's pretty much a master at this too, because they ran 484s on both runs yesterday, and then they come back and run a 463. As you take a look at our Lucas Oil photo finish cam, just about another quarter car length at the stripe for Grubby over Dixon.
And Gary Gerald is right now with him.
Wow, Dave Grubnick, we've talked a lot about the start of a healing process. My goodness, winning certainly has got to help in that respect, Paul.
That always helps. Yeah, it's a very heavy day. You know, it's all about Conrad and the Kalitta family. So, you know, and he made it win. So, you know, so far it's a good day.
Thanks, Grubby.
So as Dave Grubnick is ready to go back and face Doug Herbert when they come up again, here is the defending champion coming off his 5th win of the season at Englishtown, none other than the Sarge, Tony Schumacher. He has not lost in round 1 yet this season. 11 races and he's not lost in round 1. On the other hand, Bob Vandergrift, well, he is ready to go. He lost to Schumacher in the final round of the Tour at the finals last season. First time the Top Fuel winners will be racing this season, Dave.
Paul, both of these cars on the brand new 2550 tire. It's optional for this weekend. Will become mandatory one race from now when we go to Denver. Both of these cars, as well as Hot Rod and Antron cars that have already advanced, those are the only 4 in Top Fuel on the brand new rubber.
Can anybody stop that Top Fuel dragster? On 460, 318, lowest ET of the race, and Tony Schumacher just ripped past Bob Vandergrift, who runs a 475.
And that team is amazing. They only went down the track one time. In the first session, they were low of it when the track was the greenest. They came back, spun the tires yesterday, but then Alan Johnson, I tell you, just whenever they need it, you can say they get lucky because a lot of a couple first-round matchups they both had in the Pedal Fest, and Tony was able to do his job, including last week at Englishtown. But right now, it's a good thing they didn't spin the tires because Bob Vandergrift would have taken them out. But they still make a very nice run, low ET of the meet to get in the second round.
And so when we come back, it will be funny car now that Top Fuel is complete. John Forrest is not real happy with this matchup. It's within his team. Robert Height will be taking on the newest member of John Forrest Racing, Mike Neff. That's when Funny Car comes to the line in just a few minutes. Funny Car comes to the line now. Tim Wilkerson and Tommy Johnson Jr. Been a tough season for Tommy Johnson Jr. And if you're hearing that little clicking, that's your home unit. No, it's not. We're actually doing that, so don't touch anything. We're working on trying to get that noise out of there, and we will get it done. So there is Tim Wilkerson. He is the Funny Car points leader by over 6.5 rounds. Coming off of his 3rd win of the season. First time in his career he has won 3 races in a single season, while Tommy Johnson Jr. over there on the far side, he was the 14th qualifier at Englishtown and lost in the first round. Tim Wilkerson all the way as again something just doesn't work for Tommy Johnson Jr. Wilkerson runs a 490, 299 miles an hour.
Boy, Tim Wilkerson, he said he won 3 races for the first time in his career. I got to believe he's going to win 20 more before this year's up because this car has been amazing. He came out and ran the first section yesterday and broke everybody's back when he ran about 500, 600 quicker than the next closest guy. That motor went flat on the other end, and he still runs a 490, slowing only 299 miles per hour.
And so Funny Car now underway, and Jim Head and Tony Pedregon come to the line. Jim Head has won races in both Top Fuel and Funny Car, but he is more than a successful pilot on the quarter mile. As we learn in this week's Power 8 Power Time, the Ohio native is also a fan of the friendly skies.
Well, I got into aviation back in 1984 when I first started my construction business out of state. Well, Head Incorporated is an old business that my father actually went to work for the company back in 48. But we are small general contractors that specialize in airfield construction. That's all we do is make and place concrete at airfields, mostly military, but we'll do a lot of the airport work.
I've got a 1943 Stearman Custom with a 985 Pratt & Whitney engine, and it truly is my favorite airplane of all time. I'm proud to have a Beech Stagland, a D-17 dad is also 1943, and for transportation, I fly a Conquest 2. I've got a Pit Special, it's S2B, which I bought new in 1989. I got involved with aerobatics in the Pit Special simply to become a better pilot. And I truly believe aerobatics teaches you as a pilot a whole lot more about the regimes of flight than you can learn in the straight and level categories of aircraft. So one thing leads to another. I buy the aerobatic plane, I find a grass airstrip someplace, and I build a house, and that's what we've got going on. I live on a grass airstrip.
When was the last time you repacked these parachutes?
Within 90 days, sir. That's the regs. Every 90 days.
Huh?
Every 90 days.
You sure?
Positive.
It's got a mirror here so I can look back and make sure you didn't fall out, huh?
That's the fun meter mirror. I look in that mirror to see how much fun you're having.
If I look back there, you're not there. That's the part where I jump, right?
That's when you fly her and land her. I really, really do love aviation, but I will tell you, it's not for the thrill. There's nothing scary about what I do in aviation. I do not do low-level aerobatics. I'm really not interested in the wow factor of coming low to the ground in aerobatics. I love flying, and I love what aerobatics is taught me.
Jim Head's hoping to fly his way into the winner's circle this weekend right here at what is his home track. A perfect place to hoist his first Wally since 1997. And now here is the Lucas Oil Funny Car Ladder for you with the matchups that we will yet see. And take a look at Jack Beckman and Cruz Pedregon. That's going to be important.
Here are your matchups on the other side, including Del Worsham and John Force and Tim Wilkerson. He's already taken out Tommy Johnson Jr.
Oh, what a tough year for Tommy Johnson Jr. But here comes Head and Tony Pedregon.
Pedal fast.
Whoa! Well, Tony Pedregon wins that one. Wasn't pretty, but it was a win. A 548, 255 miles an hour to set him up against Tim Wilkerson in second round.
I tell you, when it becomes the Pedal Fest, Tony Pedregon, left side of the screen, one of the best there is. He has just the feel of a race car. You saw it, he caught it early when it started shaking, smoked it, but didn't recover, and he actually backpedaled the second time. That changed the timing in the engine because they have to have a pedal mechanism that goes into tire smoke mode, takes power away to help the car, but still does a great job to get that thing into the next round. Wow.
Well, Melanie Troxel making the best out of this Sunday. Remember, she and Gary Selzy among the two that fell on the wrong side of an NHRA rule. It says you can't have loose ballast in your funny car. That DQ rather means she's watching on Sunday. We'll talk with her when we come back to Norwalk.
Back in Norwalk, Ohio, Summit Motorsports Park, and we're underway in competition. Look at this day. It couldn't be prettier. Funny car qualifying on the line. Hey, it's time to get ready for the Western Swing. In just 2 weeks, travel off to Denver, Colorado for the Mopar Mile High Nationals qualifying on Saturday, the 12th of July. And then on Sunday, the usual lineup, NHRA race day presented by Lucas Oil. And then the finals at 8 o'clock as we start the Western Swing. We want to look at wins by lane. Oh, that's lopsided.
9-1, the only one being Brandon Burns now, that left-hand lane. Most of the people with lane choice have taken the right, but 3 teams all in top fuel chose the left-hand lane, but Brandon was the only one that was successful at it.
Now here is Bob Tasca, who lost in first round at Englishtown, and Tony Bartone. Bartone, tires lined up. Tasca takes it on through. A 5:02, 296, and a win.
Well, this was all Bob Tasca right from the start. Had almost 700 of a second advantage off starting like you said. Definitely moved first. Then Tony Bartone goes out there and spins the tire. I tell you, I think Chris Cunningham, crew chief for Bob Tasca, probably wanted a little bit more out of that Ford, but still a 502 is good enough to get him in the next round.
Tasca won here last year in top alcohol funny car. Back on the line. this matchup. There we go. Robert Height and Mike Neff. Mike Neff, the newest member of John Force Racing. And, of course, Robert Height, who has been incredibly successful for that team. Remember last week his tribute to the first round at Englishtown, and Scott Kalitta just idled down the track. Not a dry eye in the house when that was done. And a few minutes ago, Dave Reed caught up with Robert Height.
Robert Height, the unenviable task of taking on a teammate in round number 1, Mike Neff. This is a car and driver that may be new to the scene, but he's not new when it comes to beating you 2-0. So what do you got for him this time?
Well, it's tough to have to race your own teammate. You know, we share in everything. We help each other. We have all the same technology. We might as well run these Ford Expeditions down the racetrack. That's how evenly we are matched. It's going to come down to the driver, and, you know, I've got to do my job. Hopefully the Auto Club Ford can win this deal.
They say they've got a race car now that's very, very happy. Been dealing with fuel issues, but last round in qualifying yesterday, they didn't have it.
Mike Neff, you know what? Look at the stats. He either loses in first round or he goes to the final.
So look at our ESPN Bio Blast. 2005, he won the Funny Car Champion as Gary Selby's crew chief. He knows how to run these race cars. And then 2007 Las Vegas, his first career Funny Car start. He's made 3 final round appearances in the last 5 events. Has a 9-12 career round record. Obviously, he wants to improve on that starting right now.
And if he does it, he's going to have to go through his teammate, Robert Height. Good friendship there in that shop. That may be one of the tightest groups that you'll find in the sport. And Height fades. And, excuse me, Neff fades. And then Height runs it through. 492, 290 miles an hour. Jimmy Brock has that one figured out. They're finally getting down the track.
Well, we talked about lane choice. The difference is it was 10-1 going to the right lane. Jimmy Prock decided, I'm going to take the left lane because they ran the 488 in that lane yesterday. He likes what he sees in that lane, obviously, and it stuck for him. He makes a very nice pass, 492 at 290 miles per hour to get him into the next round. Watch him Mike Neff. He gets that thing, puts a cylinder out, it pushes the car over towards the center. He does the right wise thing and gets out of the throttle.
Back at the starting line, the next pair, Jerry Tolliver and Ron Capps. There are only 8 races left to get into the top 10 to be a part of the countdown to the championship. Quite a few drivers are playing catch-up. There are plenty of big names in Funny Car on the outside looking in at the top 10 in points. The time is now for these drivers to step up, take chances, and prove they belong among the elite in Funny Car. As the pressure mounts, which drivers have what it takes to be great? And of those that are really struggling this year, those outside looking in, that's a pretty noble list.
Big names including Gary Selby, Melly Trotzel, Jack Beckman, Del Worsham. Wow.
For the moment, Ron Capps, one of the Team Schumacher Funny Cars, and Jerry Tolliver, another. Capps started 7th in Englishtown, and he lost in round 1 against Mike Neff. Terry Tolliver has only 1 round win this season. That one came at Topeka for the very likable big man.
A little bit surprised at that beginning of the year. I thought Jerry Tolliver was going to have a breakout season after teaming up with Don Schumacher. Phil Schuler going over there as his crew chief, but they have struggled. It's starting to come around a little bit right now, but so is Ron Capps in the other lane. Ed Diaz McCullough likes his new chassis. They seem to be getting a little bit better each and every race.
Oh, we go. Let's go. Let's go. Bye, Capps. Yep, Ron Capps in a pedal fast of 568 to a 629 loss for Jerry Tolliver. You bet you will. I like that.
It definitely wasn't pretty, but they're always fun to watch when this happens, folks, because this is where the driver comes into play. Right now, both cars are hooked up. I think Jerry Tolliver spun tires just an instant before Ron Capps. Sometimes that hurts you because you don't have that momentum. Ron Capps did a good job. Looked like he backpedaled that car twice to get it to recover. Let's take a look at what happened with Jerry Tolliver. You're going to see this thing just drive up in the tire smoke right there, that little rattle, but then in the smoke, he gets out of it, then it lifts the front end up, and then he has to get out of it again, tries to feather the throttle, and rolls it back into it. But at that point, Ron Capps is long gone.
And it's time now for our down to the strip.
I saw you and I tried to chase you down, but
I was going to take the cone out. I wasn't letting it. It was either going to cone out or you were going to win the race.
well, I was chasing you, but I'll let you catch.
If I would have had my old pedal in it, I would have.
I'm coming on.
Why?
Because it's blue.
Stop, brother.
Well, let's see what the actual machine repair team can do. And that's all with this press for Team Plus. Nitro starting off.
Now, cover.
Another pedal fest underway. And this one belongs to Cruz Pedregon, 593.204, but it is a win. He's coming off of his first DNQ of the season. He lost to Mike Ashley in the semifinals here last year, but he beat Beckman in round 2 a year ago, and now he's beat him in a pedal fest.
Taking another look at it, Jack Beckman had a huge advantage off the starting line. But I'll tell you what, Cruz Pedregon did a fantastic job at backpedaling that thing. Let's go on board and listen to this one. The key there for Cruz Pedregon, when that thing started moving towards the center line after backpedaling the first time, right there, he knew he had to get out of it, and then he rolled back into the throttle and kept that car from going across the center line. That was key, because remember, if you cross the center line, you're automatically disqualified. You have the cylinder on the one side. Look right there. That thing just makes a nice move right there. He gets out of it to straighten that thing up. He waits till the car settles down, squared up to the finish, gets back on the throttle, starts spinning the tires again. Now he's just going to kind of roll into the throttle and get into the second round. Nice job.
That was a very pretty piece of driving for that man, Cruz Pedregon. Back at the starting line. Blue car last week, red car this week. Del Worsham and John Force are ready to go. Those are some words to remember. We'll see if they're true when we come back right after this. John Force and Del Worsham. Remember, Del Worsham made some changes to the car after the accident last week, so the parachutes come out if the first panel lets go. Pretty innovative stuff. That guy, what do you have?
Well, we're talking about lane choice here in the first round. A funny car, John Force, Del Worsham. This is their 7th meeting in the first round. John has won their prior 5 times compared to Del's 1 win. But this is the key stat. This is the first time they've been racing since the early 90s where Del Worsham has lane choice over John Force in a first round matchup, and that's going to be big right here, Mike Dunn.
That's absolutely right. But the key here, this is where the multiple teams come into play. His teammate Robert Height, Jimmy Tommy Brock took that left-hand lane, having the lane choice. They shared the information, so they were able to relay back to Austin Coyle how that track is. He can make the adjustments there. This should be a very good race.
Yeah, between Height and Neff, they've already had 2 cars down. That's a lot of data to give to John Force. But not quite enough. John Force goes down, and the winner is Del Worsham. 492, 307 to a losing 508. 2 of the Force cars are out of competition in first round.
How about that? Del Worsham. I mean, John Force, Austin Coyle, they know you can never count that team out. Del, one of the best drivers in the business. You saw John, he deep stage. He actually put the top 3 stage light out. That means he was way far in there to help that reaction time. Still didn't have a very good one. So basically, the driver was late on that run. But then the car was making up through the middle. John was running a little bit faster at the 8th mile before probably started spinning the tires on the other end, mixing up the cylinders. Something went away. That allowed Del Worsham to make a very nice pass into the next round.
That's better.
And so, Del Worsham, he'll be facing Ron Capps when they come back in second round. And how about a CSK fractionary? The word is ballast. What's ballast?
Come into play a lot this weekend, and is a material added to the vehicle chassis to meet the minimum mandated weight. Can be used in the form of lead shot, lead weight, or water, etc. Usually in the case of the fuel funny cars, it's usually like a lead plate or a steel tube that's filled with lead shot that is bolted or clamped to the chassis.
And it's got to be clamped. There's the key. We go to Dave Reed.
And unfortunately for Melanie Troxel and Gary Selzy, there was some of that loose ballast found in their race cars yesterday. Subsequently, they were thrown out of the event. But helping Melanie get by is Elijah and Elena. These are children of Brian Karate's high school classmate. And no doubt they're helping taking some sting off of a race that, well, we thought you were going to be part of.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing, but, you know, we're out here, beautiful day. We're getting to watch a little racing, and, you know, it's always fun hanging around some kids and getting to be a part of their enthusiasm for the sport.
The other big news, Mike Ashley, your former owner, I should say, has sold all of his interest to Roger Burgess. That kind of comes as a shock to all of us. Did you see this coming, and what does it mean for this team?
Well, I think it certainly came as a pretty big surprise to me, but, you know, we all understand that Mike really needs to focus on his business right now. That's his, you know, his primary job, and I'm sure he'll be back out in the sport, and it really shouldn't change much for us. I think things are just going to flow along just like they have with Roger at the helm.
That's what Brian Karate said as well. As far as Gary Selzy, I can tell you he's hanging out with kids too. Dominic and Giovanni are here.
And hopefully we'll get a little more of an update from Mike Ashley himself later on. But here is Ashley Force and Gary Densham. Ashley lost first round at Englishtown last week. And another Force car goes away as Gary Densham runs a 499. Marty, the one-man party, is good with that. 282 miles an hour is the speed. 7 out of the 10 races this year Gary Densham has started. He has won the first round, and he just keeps moving ahead.
Now you saw Ashley Force have some big-time engine damage on that Mustang. And that costed the race right there because she's running right beside Gary Densham up to the 400-foot line.
Here is the Lucas Oil Funny Car ladder as we're looking ahead now to second round where Robert Hyde just found out that he will face Gary Densham, and Bob Tasca will have Bruce Petrogan.
Good matchups on the other side. Capps and Worsham and Tim Wilkerson and Tony Petrogan going at. The 2 drivers have multiple wins this season.
And as we continue, coming up, we'll turn to Pro Stock and we'll see if Alan Johnson can go for the big double-up after the $50,000 payday yesterday. And when we come back, we'll be talking with Del Worsham and John Force.
Well, take a look at this. This is Ashley Force's run just a few minutes ago at the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals. And it got a little burst and then slowed down completely, Mike.
Yeah, something happened. The first panel's up here. It didn't release, but Ashley obviously pulled the chutes on her own. That thing just basically burned the engine up about half track, and she felt it and finally had to give up the ghost.
But when it was over, this conversation ensued between her dad and Ashley Force. And Gary Gerald, what was that all about?
Well, we talked with John briefly after that. He said, I'm just taking care of my baby. He says she knows the drill. She had a little bit of a fire there, and it was kind of a pep talk. And he says, you know, strangely enough, she still listens to goofy old me.
Yeah, that is strange. Can't go around John Forces for a while.
John Force has been through a few fires. He knows how to react to them, and Ashley, you know, is getting better at it. As you after you have 1 or 2, you're gonna you know, start getting good at. She did a good job there.
That she listens to the wisdom. Well, anyone could when John Forrest is talking. Pro Stock Lucas Oil Ladder as Pro Stock is ready for their first round.
Warren Johnson, Dave Conley. Remember, WJ called Dave Conley a punk a few years ago in Denver. That'll be a good matchup.
Always friendly competition in Pro Stock. Mike Edwards and the three-time champion, Greg Anderson.
Red light for Mike Edwards. Gives it away.
Mike Edwards just throws that away to Greg Anderson.
Look what he ran. He throws away a 670. Wow. You know, that's Greg Anderson. All the Powerade championships he's won, you just cannot take him lightly. And unfortunately for Mike Edwards, he just pushed the tree a little bit too much. Hands Greg the win.
And when we see Top Fuel again, it'll be a matchup of controversy. It'll be Hot Rod Fuller and Tony Schumacher, and Dave Reef has Rod.
Well, Paul, granted, there are going to be no championships decided on this run. There's not even going to be a race win decided on this particular run. But look, there's just happens to be a spoon here. Maybe you can help stir up this big rivalry.
I've been known to stir up some pots in my lifetime, and I've been hearing Schumacher kind of spatting off lately. It don't make a lot of sense to me. He said the other day that I'm not a rival. I don't think he even knows the definition of a rival. And then I heard on the radio station he said he was going to spank me like a circus monkey. And I might be a circus monkey, but I can tell you what, he might beat me in this round. He might beat me 5 rounds in a row, but I ain't going anywhere.
Hot Rod also reminded me that spoon is also silver, too.
Paul, how do you spank a circus monkey?
Judge Mike, don't even get into that. It's bad enough we got these two on the line, Conley and Warren Johnson, who, as we've suggested, the blood here hasn't been the best over the years. So Dave the Punk is alongside Warren Johnson. And Dave did not race the first 5 events of the season. And just a few rounds now out of the countdown. That's amazing. Warren Johnson, 3 of the last 4 races. He has lost in first round and lost on a hole shot. Going to have to be good now.
For those who don't remember, it was a staging duel, that final in Denver. And Warren got the best of it because Dave Conley red-lighted on that run.
The win, 670, low ET of the race, 205 miles an hour.
Nice job by Dave Conley, Tommy Hunt, the entire team. Like you said, they were slight advantage off start, a little over 100th of a second. WJ normally with that big horsepower, he thought he definitely had a chance. He was in the race when he let the clutch pedal out. But then Dave Conley actually outran him on the racetrack and makes a nice pass.
And since that was a matchup of 10th and 11th in the points, that was a huge round for Dave Conley. He has now moved, that's the current number, to just 54 behind Warren Johnson in 10th place because he made up 20 points. We continue Pro Stock, and there's Larry Morgan. And he was the runner-up here last year to Dave Conley, who you just saw run. Vince DeSagley running Roy Johnson Power is on the other side. His second race start in Pro Stock. Larry Morgan Power is the winner here. 671, 205 miles an hour to a losing 671 with a 4. And in Pro Stock right now, for most of the competitors, it's an uphill battle. The NHRA Pro Stock class has been anybody's game this year with 8 different winners in 11 races this season. Kurt Johnson has 2 Wallies and now sits atop the point standings. So if you want to get to the top in Pro Stock, you have to go through KJ. And the next man to try and do that is going to be Greg Stanfield. Kurt Johnson, the points leader. Last year, he lost in first round. He was racing Jake Coughlin when he did that. And Greg Stanfield, again, thinking about that battle that surrounds 9th, 10th in the points. Greg Stanfield is 9th. We have already mentioned that Warren Johnson is 10th. So KJ could help the family cause a little bit here.
We talked about the fuel cars, the fact that the water drains are down, not as much moisture in the air. That means these cars make horsepower more natural because they are naturally aspirated running on carburetors. We've already seen so far, teams have basically stepped up about 2/100ths of a second on average from the best qualifying team times. Let's see what happens with these two teams.
Taking their time. Shot 673, 204 miles an hour to a losing 671 for the points leader. And for Kurt, his 3rd whole shot loss this season.
Wow, take a look at this is our Motel 6 who got the light. And obviously it's going to Greg Stanfield. He had 2/100ths of a second advantage off the starting line over Kurt, who you saw get sideways when he launched too. Didn't help his cause. Kurt ran a quicker 671.9, but Greg Stanfield 673.1 gets the win because of that advantage off the start.
And that is our Lucas Oil photo finish shot. Look at that, just by inches once again. Well, Pro Stock qualifying is complete. First round is underway. First round of Top Fuel is already complete, and they're working in the Schumacher pits to get ready because when they come back to the track again, they face Hot Rod Bull. What a day we are having in Norwalk, Ohio at the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals. Pro Stock continuing. Right side, Ron Krischer. Left side, Johnny Gray. Boy, look at Gray go. Johnny Gray comes out of the box with a .027, runs a 673, 205 miles an hour, and takes down Ron Krischer. Let's go to Dave Reed. He has Tony Schumacher.
Well, it is a presidential year, and we got to give equal time, and so we brought the silver spoon over here to Tony Schumacher. And I was just telling Tony about some of Hot Rod's comments about not knowing the definition of a rivalry. Something having to do with the circus monkey. I give you the spoon. You go ahead and stir it up for us this time.
You know what's funny, man? People always come up and say, you know, you take the higher ground and you don't beat on anyone. And you know what? I don't. If we want to call nicknames and all that stuff, that's all great. But you know what? He's a great rival. That's what he is. He's a great opponent. They're all good. If I had to make a nickname up for every one of the guys that's a good rival or a good opponent, I would have no time to practice racing, man. I'm here to win a championship.
But a circus monkey?
Well, you know what? I thought that was good. If I tell anyone that, it doesn't matter I'm racing. I want to beat them like a circus monkey, which is, of course, if you're one of them people that watch animals, I'd never beat a circus monkey on camera, of course. But, you know, it's the way it is, man. We're out here to race. We're out here to have a good time, and this is entertainment, and I understand why we bring up rivalries, but the fact is we got to win. We got to suck it up. It's got to be a tough race, and he is a tough competitor, along with 15 other guys today that we're going to have to beat.
Give me back that spoon. We'll see you in the second round.
Well, on behalf of PETA, I want to endorse Tony Schumacher because he's not going to spank that circus monkey, so. Man, that just ain't right.
There's Roy Johnson with his son Alan Johnson in the car yesterday. It was Alan Johnson winning the K&N Horsepower Challenge. That was worth $50. Today he can pick up another $25,000 if he can double up. Lee Gaines in the other lane. His 100th round of racing.
And he throws it away with the red light by 4,000ths of a second, giving the win to Alan Johnson, and makes a great pass with a 6:60.80 laps time.
Alan Johnson moves that much closer to doubling up here at Norwalk. A little bit earlier, Gary Gerald caught up with John Force and Del Worsham.
With Del Worsham and John Force. Del, how important was lane choice for you in that situation?
I don't think really lane choice had much to do with that race there. We looked at both lanes, and they were winning out of both lanes. It's always nice to have lane choice, but really I would say I really don't know. We're just out there running the best we can.
And he's happy to be going on. This man not so happy. You're not going on. You said you had a problem with the tree, John. What happened?
Well, I had a problem because Worshie, he's young. You know, this old man's got to get after him. I tried to jump in deep, and the first light went out, and then for some reason, I thought the second light went out, but I love his honesty. Worsham was like, first you screwed me up too, so we both just labored on down through there, and his heap ran good. But I want to say this. I talk a lot. Everybody knows it. Worsham, he doesn't talk a lot, but I'll tell you what he does do, he listens. And when he met with Head and Alan Johnson and those guys and came up with that idea to put that thing when your motor explodes and puts out your chutes, thank you, kid, because we got them on all our cars. Safety's what we're all about.
First kiss of the weekend, and you're the recipient.
Yeah, nice. He's scruffy. He needs a shave.
And another great tradition continues in motorsport. Well, there's Jason Line, left side of your screen. It's Ricky Jones over on the other side. Jason Line, #1 qualifier. His second start from #1 this season. He was #1 at St. Louis, but he also lost the very first round. And Ricky Jones, this is only his 7th race day start. He lost the first round in Chicago and did so from the bump spot. He's just 21 years old.
It's interesting to note that Jason Line with lane choice, the first pro stock driver with that choice to take that left-hand lane. It's because he ran low ET the meet yesterday in that lane, so obviously he likes it.
Boy, they both came off the line good, but it was Jason Line runs down with a 671 with a 4 to a 673 with a 9. And Jason Line will now have the honor of facing his teammate when they come back. And Gary Gerald.
Well, Alan Johnson getting a sip of cool, refreshing water after another job well done, and thinking how much about that bonus money that's the carrot that you're chasing here today.
You know, it's a big lick for us. We could do that, and certainly it's on our mind, but just take it one round at a time, try to do my job a little better. I was a little late that time if I was 50, so got to do a little better than that.
Yeah, but that 68 was pretty stout.
Yeah, it was. Good run.
Low talking and driving. Now becoming rich man, Alan Johnson. That was yesterday. Mopar, after 17 years, wins the challenge. That was the end of the run yesterday in the K&N
It ain't light.
Right now.
Down here.
Yeah, those are the good moments. Jake Coughlin starting the bottom half of the field at Englishtown, lost in the first round to Ron Krischer. Today he has to take on Justin Humphries, who has never beaten Jake. This is their 5th matchup.
Jag also choosing that left-hand lane after probably watching Jason, but I don't know, that right-hand lane, when Alan Johnson goes down and runs a 668, I can guarantee you Justin Humphrey's not worried about that lane. Roy Simmons obviously likes what he sees in the left lane. You saw Robert Hyde do the same thing in Funny Car. It worked for him. It worked for Jason in front of them. Let's see how it works. Driver wanting to go in right away. Jackie goes in.
Boy, Humphrey's got a big jump on Jack. And carries it right on. A 672, 204 all-shot win over Jake Coughlin. Track is not treating Jake well in first round.
Now, a little uncharacteristic. I mean, give credit to Justin Humphries. He had a great light. 0-10, he was 300ths of a second over Jake Coughlin off of the starting line. Jake just could not make up the ground on the other end. As you look at the margin of victory off our Lucas Oil photo finish cam, Justin gets there just by about a fender length.
You know what? Jake lost on a hole shot in the challenge yesterday. That is his third hole shot loss this season.
So Jake had to work the wheel a little bit after he pulled second gear, cost him a little bit of time there, but still manages to run a 669, but unfortunately he comes up short.
And so the first round of Pro Stock is now complete, and the Lucas Oil Pro Stock ladder looks this way with the teammates Jason Line and Greg Anderson going to face one another.
The other side, you got Humphries and Conley, and the Mopars of Johnson and Morgan going at it.
And we've got plenty more to come from Norwalk, Ohio. There's no rest for the winners as in Ron Camp's pit at the ASIMA gang go to work to get ready for their next confrontation in Funny Car. In the meantime, we want to remind you that in just 2 weeks, the NHRA starts the Western Swing. We'll have qualifying from Denver on Saturday, July 12th, and then our usual lineup, NHRA race day, and the finals will come to you on July 13th. Now, speaking of Pro Stock motorcycle, that's what we're looking at. Here's round 1.
Right off the bat, you got red hot Chris Rivas up against Karen Stover. Karen actually out-qualified Chris, but this time it was all Chris Rivas from start to finish as he runs a 7:05 to advance to the second round.
And that brought up Mike Berry and Craig Treble. This was a nice, close run. But you know what? When they got all the way down to the other end, it was Craig Treble on a 7:08, 188.
Next up is Angel Sempe up against Chip Ellis, her old right, and she ran like by 2,000ths of a second, handing the win to Chip Ellis, who runs low ET to the meet with a 6:99 elapsed time.
And that brought up Eddie Craywick and Joe DeSantis. DeSantis was way late, and you just can't do that when you're running against Andrew Hines or Eddie Craywick. In this case, Eddie Craywick, 7:03, 188 miles an hour.
Next up is Hector Arana up against Matt Gadara. Matt Gadara, your Gator Nationals champion. Doesn't matter right now because Hector Arana takes him out with a 7:04 to 188 miles per hour.
And here comes Andrew Hines and Paul Gass. He just gets drilled, but then look at that. Andrew Hines, power, carries him away. A 7:04 win.
Next up is Steve Johnson up against Junior Pippin, Snooki, and the Mule. Steve Johnson was red hot in qualifying, and he carried over in the first round, gets the win with a 7:07 elapsed time.
And the last pair, Matt Smith and Wesley Wells. And again, good shot off the line, but it's Matt Smith that comes roaring through with the win, a 7:04, 187-mile-an-hour pass. And so, as a result of the first round of competition, here's the way it sets up going to round two. Eddie Craywick's going to have a very fast Chris Rivas on his hand.
Other side of the ladder, we got three Suzuki's. The only Harley being that of Andrew Hines going against Craig Treble, and Steve Johnson takes on Chip Ellis.
And when Top Fuel returns, Tony Schumacher, the Sarge, and his good, close, and personal friend, Rod Fuller, renew their rivalry. So stick around.
It's gonna take so much, like 20-hour work days with no breaks for lunch. And I work till I hurt myself. I learned that from the best in the game. No way I can turn back. Was a trash man, intern assistant, raw back 5 a.m. construction, hard hat, thought distraction, giving up fast. Got the heart of a champion, it's one that lasts. Through trials and tribulations, heartache, defeat. Reach for motivation, I'm a beast, off the leash. Went from pocket doors to mental force. Make up your mind.
We just keep moving right along with eliminations from Summit Motorsports Park, Norwalk, Ohio, the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals. And Top Fuel's coming back for round two. Here's the recap for round one.
David Grubnick, left side of your screen against Larry Dixon. A very good and emotional win for David Grubnick in a great race. A 4:63 takes out Larry Dixon's 4:64 elapsed time.
So that brought up the other Kalitta car, Doug Kalitta and Rod Fuller. Rod Fuller, great run, takes Kalitta out. That leaves only Grubnick as the one Kalitta car left. And Rod Fuller will face the winner of this matchup.
That's Tony Schumacher up against Bob Vandergrift Jr. Tony Schumacher is going to run low ET of the meet with a 4:60 elapsed time to set up that matchup with Hot Rod Fuller.
And so, Dave Grubnick, the only Kalitta car to advance. Here is the Lucas Oil ladder. Looking into round two, the Hot Rod Fuller Schumacher dance continues. Dave Grubnick and Doug Herbert.
And you got Corey and JR and Brandon going up against Antron.
Boy, is Corey Mack looking strong today. A 4:63, 305 miles an hour as he takes down J.R. Town, who runs a 5:04, 238-mile-an-hour pass.
Well, this is what Corey Mack has been looking for. He's told me a couple races ago they've had a car that can win at any race they go to, but they just haven't been able to deliver it. He was starting to get frustrated. I'll tell you right now, this car looks awfully good as cruisers. Mike Green and that team have this thing running pretty well. 4:63, 305 miles per hour gets him into the semi.
Third time this season that Corey Mack has beaten J.R. Town. The NASCAR Nationwide Series there at Daytona. On ESPN2 on Friday night, coverage begins. NASCAR our countdown at 7 o'clock. And here comes Doug Herbert and Dave Rubnick. And let's go to the top end, Gary Gerald.
Corey Mack, you're talking at different times about how you and Scott Kalitta had the great rivalry and some of the stories. And I'm remembering vaguely about the cutout of Joe Amato. Was it in the South? Tell me about that one.
Well, we used to always stay in the same hotel together. So one day I got up in my room, you know, it's a normal Thursday morning, get up in the room, and I'm putting my toiletries away in the bathroom, and I look, kind of see a shadow behind me. I'm thinking, Scott cannot be in my bedroom. I mean, please don't do that to me, you know. I saw a little shadow. I thought, you got to be kidding me. I threw that thing over to Joe Amato. Oh, my God. You know, Scott and I had a lot of fun during those days. And, you know, it's one of those things. Now we're heavily sponsored. Things are a lot more different than they used to be. But we'll never stop thinking about it.
And you're having fun today because that's a very good race car.
Definitely. This Trans Conquer Drex is running. Thanks, Corey.
And Shirley Muldowney was on the phone last night sharing some stories on Scott Kalitta. And John Muldowney's here actually at the television truck this morning with great photographs from the earlier times when Scott was hanging around with Shirley and hanging around, for that matter, with John. But right now, the focus is right here. Doug Herbert, Dave Rubnick. Hole shot, 466 with a 6, and Dave Rubnick gives way to Doug Herbert. Last Kalitta car is now out of competition.
Taking another look at it, Doug Herbert had about 3.5 hundredths of a second advantage off the starting line. He needed it because that's how a hole shot win happens. He got the jump off the starting line. Even though he ran a slower elapsed time by just a little bit, he was still able to get to the finish line ahead of Dave Rubnick.
You mentioned the photographs that John Muldowney. Look at that. There he is, Shirley. That's young John, about age 13 for Scott Kalitta out in front. John Muldowney behind him there, Shirley and Scott. And never forget Scott's smile. Well, there is Grubby down the track as Doug Herbert comes over. And the racers have recognized that they need to be closer and closer as time goes on. We take you back now to the starting line. There's Antron Brown. He started on the pole in Englishtown. He beat Brandon Bernstein, who is in competition here at St. Louis in round 1. And that is their only matchup this year. Brandon Bernstein lost his second final round of the season last weekend at Englishtown, losing it to Tony Schumacher. He lost on a hole shot in the final.
Brandon still trying to get that first win of the season, is in that left-hand lane. He did not have lane choice because Antron ran very nicely in that first round, that 461. But remember, Tim Richards chose that lane in the first round. One of the few drivers to do it in the field category. The field did. He was successful getting the win out of that round. So that lane. So he is comfortable with that lane. It's a matter of will he be able to outrun Antron right now.
Winner here will face Antron Brown. Corey Mack, excuse me.
Antron's got Silver out.
And it'll be Brandon Bernstein. It'll face Corey McClellan when we go to the semifinal. Looks like the lane pick worked just fine. He runs a 465, 307-mile-an-hour pass.
Brandon had a good reaction time. He was a little bit off in the final last week at Englishtown. He wants to make sure he's on his game, and that was a very nice run. Reaction time, elapsed time, just really got the job done. Crew Chief Tim Richards got to be happy with this entire package here. Based on what I'm seeing, that car was running through the middle very nicely, but gets a nice win into the semis.
Well, let the spanking begin. There's Rod Fuller, and he is ready to take on the Sarge, Tony Schumacher. Who will be spanked? There it is. Well, back here in Norwalk, they had a little bit of rain. They have started their burnout process, but the report from down track is that it is raining down there. Rick Stewart still believes that we can get this pair down the track. An important pair it is as well. The rivalry, Tony Schumacher and Rod Fuller. Schumacher won 2 of his rounds, including the final round on a hole shot at Englishtown. He is really on his game. Of course, the car is as well.
Well, let's take a look at Tony Schumacher with and without Alan Johnson. Big difference there in 138 races without AJ. 20%, only 5%, 7 wins. And then with Alan Johnson, 39 wins, 33% win rate. That is astounding.
And he's been to the final round 7 of the 11 races that have been held this year. Rod Fuller, now he is looking to try and get even. Sorry about that, Alan Johnson. Rob Flynn, congratulations. You have done well. I'm sure this is going to make for one great quote out of Rod Fuller when he gets out of that car. He runs a 454 with a 320 miles an hour.
Wow, neither team was taking the other one lightly. I'll tell you, they all brought their A game for this one. Give credit to everybody. Hot Rod was on his game, as was Tony. Almost identical reaction times. Just Hot Rod had a little bit best car on the top end and got the win. Take another look at it. Dead even off the starting line. They were pretty much dead even at the 8th mile. But Hot Rod was running about 3 miles an hour faster. That was the difference. Tony Schumacher looked like got a little fuel spraying off the top of that injector. Might have hurt the fuel delivery, and that's maybe why it slowed down to only 307 miles an hour on the top end and possibly cost him the race.
And Gary Gerald with Rod.
Well, Hot Rod comes out, the mouth guard comes out. Here comes your friendly rival over your shoulder here. Well, you guys have been whipping it up here. Whose monkey got spanked?
Yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. Looks like this big back cat is black and mad. It's, man, it's awesome. You know, to go through all that and, you know, the conditions today and sitting up there out of the car and in the car and back in the car and have to run against Schumacher and all the stuff's been going on about the dark side and all that stuff. And, hey, this race team's hungry. And, like I said, he spanked me like a monkey, but this monkey ain't going away. Thanks.
So the rivalry continues, and Rod has the upper hand right now. Funny cars, they come to the line. And it's going to be Tim Wilkerson and Tony Pedregon. Here are the Top Fuel semifinal matchups. When they come back, Rod Fuller will have lane choice when he has to face Doug Herbert. And Corey Mack will take on Brandon Bernstein, and Corey will have the lane choice. But right now, it's Funny Car, the focus of our attention. Tim Wilkerson, he's the only 2 Funny Car drivers to have wins this year, multiple wins during this season. Tony Pedregon, multiple races. Tim Wilkerson, Funny Car record holder Pedregon with a 465 with a 9. And the Lucas Oil ladder for Funny Car. Well, there it is. And Robert Height, Gary Densham, that's a former teammate, going to face his former crew chief, Gary Densham.
Some great matchups on the other side. Crew Captain Worsham and Wilkerson and Pedregon, as you said, the multiple winners going at it here in the second round.
Tony Pedregon, Tim Wilkerson. No question at that. And a bit of a surprise. Tony Pedregon runs a 496 with a 2 at 297 miles an hour. Really slow, though, for Tim Wilkerson.
I don't believe Tim must have had a sound out pretty early in the run. Both drivers had identical reaction time. Tim Wilkerson just had some slow numbers early. Tony Pedregon, Dickie Van team make a nice run to get into the semis.
Well, we've got some news in the Funny Car ranks, and with that news, we've got Mike Ashley on the phone with us now. Mike, hi, how are you? And tell us what's going on.
Good. How you guys doing out there?
Good.
You know, I kind of like made the decision after Englishtown that, you know, I'm a big guy on commitment, and it was kind of hard to be committed to working on my business, which is really growing, and at the same time being, you know, committed to being in an ownership role in the team. And Roger and I had kind of talked about it, and I made the decision that, you know, I think it was better off that Roger just kind of took the reins and I concentrated on my business right now. The team, you know, in terms of the team still stays intact, moves forward, everything's good. And that's what was really most important for this.
Hey, Mike, it's Mike Dunn here. I just got to ask you, I mean, you are the defending U.S. Nationals champion, and it doesn't get any bigger than that other than winning the championship. You know, how hard is it for you to basically, bow out after the year you had last season?
You know, I had a great season. I told my guys I've got such great memories. It's something that will never go away. And that's a good point, U.S. Nationals was just a total, emotional, wonderful moment in my life. I had a lot of those last year. But, Mike, you know the commitment it takes to run these teams, to race these cars. And you've got to focus 100% on that. And if you want to be successful in business, I've got hundreds of lives of employees that depend on me here also. So there was no way to split it up. It was a tough decision. I had to make the decision. But I look at it as a sabbatical. I'll be back. That I can tell you. That's for sure.
Well, Mike, you've got several teams, including Promont team. What happens to all of that?
Oh, well, the Promont team is still intact. The Promont team is still going to, run out the rest of the season. And, I'm going to take the rest of the year, work on my business, spend time with my family, kind of make some decisions, and I'll decide in 2009 exactly how I'm going to proceed.
All right, there is the update from Mike Ashley. We appreciate you taking the time with us. On the line now, there's Del Worsham and Ron Capps. Worsham finds himself in trouble. Ron Capps takes it all the way through. Runs a 493 at 301 miles an hour. And Ron Capps will now face Tony Pedregon in the semifinals.
Now Worsham took the tires, got
I was trying to hear that audio between Capps and McGlizzy. It's like trying to order at Taco Bell.
Oh, man.
Take another look at it. You're going to see Del Worsham on the left side of your screen go up and smoke. And Ron Capps gets the win. Let's take another look at Ron Capps as we go to break. You want to stay with us? We got more funny car action coming here at you from Norwalk, Ohio.
State climate.
Well, over in Doug Herbert's pits, Kevin Pointer has been working hard on the setup for the rest of the runs today, especially ones that they hope that they can really perform well with. And in 2 weeks, they're also thinking ahead to the Western Swing. It begins in Denver, Colorado, the Mopar Mile High National, qualifying on Saturday, July 12th. And then our usual lineup on Sunday, that's July 13th, NHRA race day, and of course the finals. It was Rod Fuller, Jack Beckman, Alan Johnson, and Matt Smith that won in their respective classes last year. So as Funny Car continues, Gary Densham, Robert Height. Height now in the car that Densham used to occupy. Give that one to Robert. Robert Height, 492, 296 miles an hour. He and Jimmy Brock have this track figured out. All right, Robert. Go right. So you saw John Ford's happy with that as well.
Let's take another look at this. It was a decent run. I'm surprised that Robert Height maybe didn't run a little bit quicker because we saw High Rod run that 454. Normally that means a funny car should be able to run about a 485 range, but they're just making sure they go from A to B and keeping the boss happy, and he liked that win.
Top end, Gary Carroll has Ron Capps.
Ron Capps, how good's your race car today?
Well, it's better now. I mean, the first round, I told Ace in the lounge there, I said, you had a mulligan. Now get your driver out, and you're going to put it right off the green. And he did. That was huge. Didn't have lane choice. They put us in the left lane, and put a great job. Napa guys, the car left, and it puffed the tires. It rattled the whole car. And I'm like, oh, no. And I could hear Worsham out my window, and then it just hiked the front end up and took off. And the weather's been so up and down, you don't know what's going to happen. I could hear him out my window, and there's so much going on, and you pull the chutes, and you hope that your wind light's on. But the Dodge Charger, it's stuck well enough to get the win. We'll be one more round.
Okay, let's check in with Dave Reed.
Larry Dixon may be done today, but his mind is always on safety, and he's found something that the AMA and the IRL already use that he thinks would be a good idea over here in the NHRA, and it's called the Eject Helmet Removal System. Simply put, this is a bag that tapes to the inside of the helmet, and wherever this tube comes down, there you see the Eject Equip sign. What happens from there, you're able to attach an air device, and that device then blows up the bag and aids in the helmet eventually coming off the head. That way, in case you have any head or spinal injuries, they can safely get that helmet off. And as I said, it's not mandated here yet, but it's something that Larry Dixon would love the NHRA to take a look at.
I think that's a great idea because, you know, for that helmet to be comfortable, you want it to be really tight around you. So that can be a problem getting that off. So I like that idea.
Yeah, and especially if you're unconscious. If you're conscious, they'll just say, can you take the helmet off? You won't hurt yourself. But unconscious, that is a terrific idea to help get the helmet off. You're looking right at Cruz Pendragon coming off of his first DNQ of the season. And Bob Tasca's alongside. He is currently number 10 in the points. Cruz to the win, 492, 300 miles an hour, and Cruz Pendragon will face Robert Height when they come back to the semifinals.
What's going well with Cruz? Remember the previous round where he had to backpedal that thing to get the win. This time, Ron Tolber's cruising gave him an excellent race car. He's run 258 miles per hour in the 8th. You heard the engine stay up going just a little flat before the finish line, but still makes a great pass.
And that running just a little flat probably cost him in terms of lane choice because the semifinal matchups look this way with Robert Height facing Cruz, and Cruz gives away the lane choice to Robert Height. And it's Ron Capps who will face Tony Pendragon, and Capps says the car is working good now, and he has lane choice. Over in Hot Rod Fuller's pits, they are beginning to work away on their car, and they match up with Doug Herbert. When we come back, you saw Kevin Pointer in the game working on their data, and now Rod Fuller's crew has the data figured. They're working on the car. Stick around.
Well, at the starting line here at Summit Motorsports Park, we're in Norwalk, Ohio, of course, and Johnny Gray and Greg Stanfield as Pro Stock comes out to see who will advance to the semifinals. Meanwhile, in funny car at the top end of the racetrack, Cruz Pendragon, much more solid run the second time down the track. What was better?
Well, Ron Tobler put the Advanced Auto Parts car the way we ran it earlier in the year. It's more familiar setting it up and the tune-up and everything. So it's all reliable. We went back to it, and it's starting to respond now. The first couple, we only got 2 runs here, obviously, because of the rain. But, you know, it took Ron a few rounds. That round, that's our old car that got us into the top 3 in points all year. But, hey, it's anybody's game out there right now. The Tasca family is a great family, a friend of ours, and it's good to get this Toyota into the next round for Advanced Auto Parts, and great stuff. All the sponsors snap on. It's a tough war out here, but I'm enjoying it.
Thanks, Cruz.
Thank you.
And here in Pro Stock, our first pair, Johnny Gray and Greg Stanfield. Well, Stanfield has that one, 672, 204 miles an hour. That's a good jump off of the line. Over in Tony Pendragon's pits, they're working away because they realize they've got a pretty major confrontation coming up in just a little bit when he faces Ron Capps. The NASCAR Nationwide Series at Daytona Beach, ESPN2, Friday night. Wish I was walking in the water. Coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown at 7 o'clock. Last year, bad boy Al Busch took the checkered flag. This year,
That the old firecracker 400 or something?
I don't even know why I'm asking you.
Come on.
All right, let's take a look at the Lucas Oil ladder here. Because coming up to the line is a major matchup. Jason Line and Greg Anderson. Yeah, the teammates. Didn't work real good in funny car. We'll see what they'll do with it you know there's going to be a loser.
On the other side, you got Alan Johnson trying to double up. He's going to have to take out the other bull bar of Larry Morgan if he wants to do it.
But here is Anderson and Line. Greg Anderson is 14-9 career over his teammate. Can at least guarantee the way things are working that one of the KB cars is going to make it to the semifinals.
That'd be a pretty good bet.
I put money on it. Came off nice and even, gave it a good race, and Greg Anderson adds to his record. He's now 15-9 over his teammate Jason Line. Runs a 670 with the 1.
This is a good old drag race. Now, I thought Jason was probably going to get that because basically they pretty much left together. Greg has a slight advantage on the starting line, but Jason was much quicker in 60 feet, and he carried it right to there to 330. But then Greg Anderson started to reel him in and was able to drive around him on the other end. Let's go on board with Greg. You see Jason, he's going to shoot out there. He's still a little bit ahead right there, but then that's where Greg starts pulling around. Just a great old drag race. Unfortunately for him, Greg was ahead.
Yeah, but not by much as we look at the Lucas Oil photo finish for the nearly identical cars as they hit the line. And this, too, is going to be a great matchup. Dave Connolly, the runner-up at Englishtown, to Greg Anderson and Justin Humphreys. Now, Humphreys is 0-3 racing against Connolly.
Justin Humphreys coming off that first round one where he had a good reaction time, 0-10 light. And Dave Connolly known for this reaction time. To see what happens. Oh, 0-02 for Justin.
And he can take that one all the way. Justin Humphreys. Humphreys, 671. You heard the call. 671, 204 miles an hour. And that's going to put a crimp in Dave Connolly's seeking to get into the top 10.
Taking a look at this launch. This was nice. I mean, 2,000 a second from perfect, and then couples up with a nice 60-foot time. They've really got the setup on that car working off of the launch, and he just carried it all the way to the win. Justin Humphreys and that team did a great job. You saw Dave Connolly get a little bit sideways when he let the clutch pedal out. Pretty much caused him to run right there as he just couldn't run down Justin.
And so now we go back to the line once again. And coming up will be Alan Johnson and Larry Morgan. But for the moment, Gary Gerald has Justin Humphreys.
Well, Justin, a 002 light. That's good news. Round win is good news. Maybe even better news. It's against one of the guys you're fighting to get into the top 10. How's it feel?
Oh, you know, Jake and Connolly have been on top of me every time I've raced them, and I owe both of them a couple, but 002 is pushing it a little. I'm glad to be green, and hey, we're just trying to get back in the top 10 too, and it's a tough battle right now, so hopefully we can go a couple more rounds and inch back that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are two guys that build pretty stout engines. One is Larry Morgan, a bunch of his in the field. The other is this car, Alan Johnson, his dad Roy. They build some great motors as well, and they'll face one another. Alan Johnson, there's Roy. Alan Johnson, he won in the challenge yesterday, and if he can win the event here today, he adds to the $50K he won yesterday, another $25,000 and all the other prizes.
Alan's going to have to drive around him.
You can't win when you come that way off the line. Larry Morgan.
Go on board with Alan Johnson. He's going to be kicking himself because he was just dead late, about 6.5 hundredths of a second. He knows it right there. He's just not going to catch Larry. And even though he makes a very good pass, he's going home.
So now we have the
Is it on fire or something?
Final set, and that guy right there, Larry Morgan, he's going to be part of it. It will be Greg Anderson with lane choice over Greg Stanfield, and Larry Morgan will face Justin Humphreys, and Humphreys will have the lane choice. Humphreys beginning to come on strong.
You need me?
And guess what? It's Pro Stock Motorcycle that comes up next here at Norwalk. The ladder in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Here is the way it's going to look for the Lucas Oil ladder and the matchups to come. There they are. Eddie Craywick will take on the very fast Chris Rivas, Hector Arana, and Smith.
Defending champion Andrew Hines going up against Craig Treble. And the other two Suzuki, Steve Johnson and Chip Ellis.
So here is Hines and Craig Treble. Craig Treble is going to win, and part of the reason he's going to win, look at that reaction time. He runs down to a 7:06. Andrew Hines can't catch him, and it is Treble that scores the win. Let's go to the top end. Gary Gerald has Larry Morgan.
Well, here's one of the Ohio drivers, and he's loving the fact that he got the big advantage on the tree and turned it into a win. Didn't you go to the finals here last year?
Yeah, I did, but you know what? That guy's been running so fast, I knew I had to do something to him. But I'll tell you what, getting this, thank you very much, Alan, getting this Lucas Oil Summit car into the semifinals is a good thing. You know, this is Summit's race. It'd be good to win it here for him.
Big turnaround for this team since the early stages of the season.
Well, there's Hector Arana. He has not been through the semis this year. He faces Matt Smith, who was the runner-up here a year ago, and he won at Houston and was runner-up at St. Louis. Well, Matt Smith with a lot on his mind, trying to get this thing going, get it back to the front in the points.
Now, Hector Arana's got lane choice based on that great pass he made in the first round, albeit only by a few thousandths of a second. He's going to have to focus and try to do the same thing that he did in that first round. Get a good reaction time, hit those shift points just right. He's going to want to get around Matt Smith. Going a little staging duel here in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Let's go, come on, guys.
What's with this?
All right, here we go. Both had Nazi lights, but...
When you wait so long, it takes your edge off, but not for Arana. A 7:02 with a 988 miles an hour. Hector is moving up.
Wow. Matt Smith will be kicking himself because he's normally probably he's better on the lights than that. Let's just say it up front. Probably that little stage might have thrown him off. Like we said, both riders had bad lights. Hector's was a little bit worse by about a hundredth of a second, but he was able to make it up at the finish line. And look how close that was at the stripe. Wow.
And when we come back to Summit Motorsports Park, we'll have more Pro Stock Motorcycle plus a conversation with Tony Pedregon as he prepares for his semifinal matchup with Ron Capps about some of the things he's doing now at the far end of the racetrack. All that and more when we come back to Norwalk.
Back in Norwalk, the Summit Motorsports Park, Summit Racing Equipment Nationals, and the Geico one to watch is Chris Rivas. Numbers are current. Look there at round wins compared to 006 and 007. There's Rivas on the right, Eddie Craywick on the left, and looks like Eddie Craywick is going to go all the way with this one. Craywick, a 7:05 with a 9 to a losing 7:08 with a 6 for Chris Rivas. He gets that thing slowed down and finally stopped. Craywick the win.
Taking a look at this run, Chris Rivas has been running so well lately. Still running well, but just wasn't good enough to get around Eddie Craywick. Your #1 qualifier makes a nice pass with a good light and gets into the semis.
And let's go to Dave Reef. He has Tony Pedregon.
His crew chief, Dickie Venable, says they've got all the good safety stuff on this race car that they need, and they're very keenly aware of what the racetrack is like. But, Tony, you guys are now starting to take a look at the far end of the racetrack, and you were down top yesterday when there was an incident.
Well, I think all the drivers are going to make an attempt to be a little more proactive. We feel it is important to work with NHRA and just keep a close eye on things. things. We looked at the gravel, and it would really seem that it would be adequate to stop a car. I think the top end speed was about 240, a little over that kind of speed. But, you know, I think it's important to pay attention to all the detail. We're really looking forward to the effort that's going to be made, whether it's nets or barrels or whatever the technology is in the sand. But, you know, just little obstacles like a tree, you know, things that you don't think would matter. I mean, these cars, as they run quicker and faster and they get heavier, it does become a lot harder to stop them. So we're keeping a close eye on it.
That incident is Von Smith, an alcohol funny car that won off the end of the racetrack right at that tree. Tony, among many that voiced an opinion about that tree, and gee, surprisingly today, that tree's gone.
And there, in fact, is exactly what he's talking about.
Alcohol funny car driver Von Smith hitting that sand pretty hard and then bounces around. You see the tree over here. On that side, he drove away from that. That tree is no longer there.
Well, and it shows you how fast this track reacts to things. It also shows you the sensitivity of all the drivers after the tragedy last week. Steve Johnson, his best start of the season, hasn't been to a semi in over a year. He's in one now. Eddie Krawick will face Hector Arana. Arana will have Lane Cross, and Greg Treble will have to go against Steve Johnson, and Steve has Lane Cross. Well, guess what? It is Top Fuel that is coming up next, and Keith Stewart, Kevin Pointer, they're looking ahead for their matchup in Top Fuel.
Like if he would have fell first round, we had a shot at pulling Nitro a little bit.
This telecast is available on ESPN2 HD. You want a definition of pure joy? There it is. Not bad, kid. Oh, by the way, there's no music playing. No, there was. He was having a great time, killing time.
Is it any surprise that he's wearing a John Force t-shirt?
Yeah, oh, there you go. Well, welcome back. Rain has been in and out throughout the day. You see those clouds overhead. They're not helping things out, but the crowd's sticking with it. We'll take you to the top end and Gary Gerald.
Well, Hector Arana stepping up to the challenge here and now going on to the semifinals. Tell us a little bit about that run and how good you thought it might have been.
Well, it left pretty good, and everything was feeling good. I was hitting my shift point. I saw him right there. I could see him on the side, progressing, and I went into my next gear and then started pulling away from him. So I just waited for the wind light. So it was great. The Lucas Oil bike is doing awesome. Finally, last week we had a spill in the sand, so that's because we were at the East Coast. So we went to the beach, you know, landing in the sand. So here now we come, and yesterday we had Bronco, you know, right in the bull. So it's coming around. I feel great, but I gotta thank my crew chief, Louis, Low Blinder, my son out there, Hector and Adam, Ben, and everyone that is giving me the help. Everyone else, MSD, Mickey Thompson. I mean, I know I'm leaving some people out, but
Hector, we gotta go.
You gotta go, but I don't get this many chances to thank everyone. So.
We understand and we appreciate that. Hector is happy, but here's another happy guy over here. Whole shot wins. Steve Johnson pleading for camera time. You don't get as much time.
Me, I'm thanking me. Oh, yeah, that's not my hat, but you know, Vance and Hines built an awesome engine, and Mark and the guys did a great job. But you know what? Racing is so different over here right now because I'm in the semis. That's why it's different.
He is on a tear, isn't he?
And you saw the first pair of Top Fuel go down, Brandon Bernstein and Corey McClenathan, and Corey turned on the red light. Brandon wins. He runs a 4.65 in doing so. So he'll go to his third final round of the season.
Well, I never would have saw that coming. Corey's usually pretty much dead on as far as reaction time. He doesn't usually red light, but obviously he wasn't taking Brandon Bernstein lightly, and he puts that rare red light on for him, and Brandon Bernstein gets the win.
Well, the next pair in Top Fuel, the other half of the semifinal, they're already on the line. Left side there is Doug Herbert, and on the right side is Rod Fuller. And there's Kevin Pointer, the crew chief for Doug Herbert, as Herbert's trying to get into his first final round this season. And we had Kevin Pointer wired.
On that box, on this particular screen, it just looks crazy. But is it? Probably not. But
if anything, I'd move it back a little because it's starting to spin the tires already there.
Yeah. Well, this one went out just a little bit more here. I mean, we could pull this back to the 3-second zone, and you know,
I believe it just everything was exactly the way we just ran it, except for on the timing curve. Yeah. Except at like 3 to 3-1, and then knock it down like that.
I definitely like when he comes up here and talks to us, because it makes it feel like, you know, it's a good thing. 83.2 degrees. That's a little bit lower than when we were just at. And the grains have gone back up because of the rain, so it's 119. We'll see. 40. Okay. I think we just need to stay with what's what. I mean, Dougie won the race for us there last round. He welded him on the tree.
I don't know if it was over here.
A 55, I believe he went on the tree. 53 to an 89. I mean, that is a great leave.
And you heard him talking about everything from the reaction time, but also the timing map on the tune-up race. What they were saying, they're going to take a little more timing out of the engine down track, or actually take it out a little bit sooner, try to control that wheel spin down track, keep that thing hooked up, and hopefully have a shot at getting around Hot Rod Fuller.
Doug Herbert, the last time that he won was at Maple Grove in August of last year. Now he faces Rod Fuller. And a little stutter step there for Rod Fuller. Herbert wins 466 with an 8, 300 miles an hour. Kevin Pointer is very pleased with that, as Doug Herbert will go to his first final round of the season.
I tell you, it looks like the tune-up worked, because Doug Herbert was running some pretty big speed at the 8th mile. But we talked about taking a little bit of time out of 3 seconds, which is just before half track. And basically, I think that increased the speed, didn't have that tire spin down there, even though you take out some power. It definitely helps out. But you saw the tire shake from Hot Rod Fuller, had to backpedal that race car, and right at that point, it cost him the race. Tough break after running so well in the second round.
And the finals matchup then, as Top Fuel goes to the end of yet another race, and it will be Brandon Bernstein, and he'll face Doug Herbert. Brandon will have the lane choice. Daytona International Speedway. Yeah, that's the place. The NASCAR Nationwide Series in Daytona, and it's on ESPN2 on Friday night. Coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown. That's at 7 o'clock Eastern. And already the funny cars with kind of an ominous sky overhead, but that's what's going away from us as we have the funny cars coming up. Here's the Lucas Oil ladder, Robert Knight. And he's got Cruz, and Ron Capps, he's got Cruz's brother. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Doug, after the rain delay, how much better are the conditions now? Because this car looked like it certainly responded nicely.
It left the line pretty good, dropped some holes down track, but at least when I saw that wind light come on, I was sure excited. So for Snap-on Tools, Snap-on Franchise, Marty the party, of course, and you know, everybody on this team is doing a great job. Rudy Rittiger is coming on with us, and my daughter Jessie's here with us, and I'm sure my boys are up there talking with Scott right now, so we'll get the tune-up.
See you in the final.
In the meantime, here's a number to think about. Stat Guy came up with this. These two, Ron Capps and Tony Pedregon, have been to 114 final rounds in funny car. I mean, that's an awesome number, all things considered. Tony Pedregon, this would be his third final round of the season. The last year, winning the championship, he went to 5 final rounds. And Ron Capps, he's just looking for his first, trying to make something good. It'd be nice to see that happen. Oh, Tony Pedregon is so strong. 496 with a 7, 291 miles an hour. And Tony Pedregon will go into the final.
Hey, Tony Pedregon, Dickie Venables, Kurt Elliott are doing a great job. Tony just so consistent on that driving. Good reaction time off the starting line. Let's take a look at Ron Capps right there, though. He had a cylinder out as soon as he hit the throttle. That's what slowed that car down to a 508, allowing Tony Pedregon to get the win. Still a nice job by Tony and the team.
And so we're halfway through the semifinals in funny car as we move toward the end of the day. And down at the far end as Ron Capps climbs out of the car at the start line. It will be a rematch of the final round at the Winter Nationals that started the season in the beautiful track, Norwalk, Ohio. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. They've really done a great job, and here is our Fran Specs.
Well, let's talk about what we're going to be doing here in the next couple weeks, starting with this race as far as elevation, as the teams have to travel across the country. Remember, Norwalk, Ohio, elevation isn't too terribly high right here. Actual elevation of the racetrack is 853 feet above sea level. But then we're going to go all the way to Denver, Colorado, another 1,300 miles, and then you're up over a mile high. The teams have to make tremendous changes to adjust for that altitude. Then guess what? We're going to go up to the corner of the country, Seattle, 1,340 miles away from Denver, and it's only 280 feet above sea level, so the teams have to make tremendous changes just for these three events.
And then up head south, go to Sonoma, and that will be the Western Swing. You'll see all the coverage on ESPN2. There's Cruz looking to go to his second final round of the season. His winless streak now stands at 52 races. That's quite a slump. And Robert Hight will go against him, looking for his first final round since the second race of the season. He won Pomona. He was runner-up at Phoenix to Jack Beckman. If he makes it, this will be his 19th career final round.
You know, I like this matchup. Robert Hight had lane choice by just a little bit with this 492, just a little quicker than Cruz's 492 in the previous round. But both teams are in the lanes they like right now. I think Ron Tober is going to be able to give him a good tune-up, hopefully, to run up against Robert Hight. This should be a good matchup.
Cruz came off the line fast, but Robert Hight came right around, runs a 495.
You did, Robert. 495, 290. Good job. You all right?
Well, I tell you, this race was a little bit surprising to me, only because I saw Robert Hight down track start eating the motor up pretty good. I thought maybe Cruz was going to be able to go around. He saw Cruz get the advantage off the starting line. And obviously, Robert was able to drive around him on the other end, but then both cars had some problems on the top end, and I think, you know, Roberts was probably a little more visual, was eating the pistons up pretty good with that big flame, but Cruz had cylinders out on the other end. Let's take another look at Robert right here. This is why I thought Robert was in trouble. He had a good run going to half track, but then you're going to see the telltale flame start shooting out there. That is good. It's burning pistons, it's burning the cylinder head. Luckily for him, Cruz in the other lane had cylinders out. That's why Cruz didn't get the win, and Robert Hight was able to just get it at the stripe.
And with that win, John Force Racing has had a car in every final round this year, except at Gainesville and Chicago.
And the stage has been set for a funny car final. Robert Hight by 100th of a second has the lane choice advantage over Tony Pedregon. It's all upcoming from Norwalk.
We're in the semifinals now here at Summit Racing Equipment Nationals from Summit Motorsports Park in Norwalk, Ohio. The sun shining down again. I'm Paul Page with Mike Dunn, Gary Gerald, Dave Reed, all on board, and the Lucas Oil Pro Stock Blender. As we come into these semifinals, Greg Anderson is going to have to face a hungry Greg Stanfield, and Justin Humphries will be challenged by Larry Morgan. Let's go to the top end, Gary Gerald.
Robert, we've been talking a lot about you and Jimmy Prock and this team fighting to find the consistency, and it looks like you're starting to get there. That was one heck of a drag race, though. Did you know that you'd won it?
No, I didn't. I was asking my guys on the radio. That's one of the best things about driving one of these things is hearing those guys be all excited on the radio. That's one of the biggest things, because you know what? The real excitement and the celebrations back at the starting line. But the Auto Club Ford's starting to run good. We got a tough competitor with Tony Pedregon. You know, anytime you race those Pedregons, they're tough. But we've got him in the final, and actually I've never beat him in the final, so today I want to get him. Thanks.
So here we go with Larry Morgan and Justin Humphries. We've turned the radio on Larry Morgan's car. Whoa! Humphrey was all over the place.
Larry stepped up. Remember, Justin Humphries the previous round was 0:02 in reaction time, had a good reaction time in 0:22, but Larry Morgan, the other lane, went 0:07. So Larry was ready for Justin. Justin, I think, between being a little bit off on the reaction time and spin the tires, probably cost him the race.
Larry Morgan, the runner-up here last year. Is he about to end that 134-race winless streak? We'll find out. Dave Reed.
A lot of healing could come to the team of Doug Herbert today, not only for Doug's sons, John and James. He talked about that, but keep in mind, Kevin Pointer worked with Eric Metal in the John Force team, and then there's his right-hand man, Coach Kirchie, Keith Stewart, who worked with the Kalitta organization not once but twice, with Doug on a dragster back in 04, and then all last year with Scott. It would certainly mean a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, this team's got a lot of emotional reasons to try to pull forward and try to do good this year. From back in December, I lost my mother. And then Doug lost his kids, and, you know, Kevin's lost his grandmother, and last weekend's lost with Scott. And I worked on that car, and we definitely like to pull this off today to try to give, you know, some honor to the people that we love and what the community's looking to do for Scott Kalitta. We just want to dedicate everything to all those people.
Wish you the best of luck. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
And back to the line and pro stock. All the cars carrying one form of sticker or another, honoring Scott Kalitta, who passed away just over a week ago at Englishtown. Greg Anderson, he'll leave here with a point no matter what happens. He faces Greg Stanfield, looking for his third career final round. Anderson, 668 with a 205 miles an hour. Low ET of the race.
Wow. Tell you, Greg Anderson, I mean, that's why he's so many time Powerade champion, because he knows how to do it. You saw Greg Stanfield get a slight advantage off the start line, not quite 200ths of a second, but then Greg made that up pretty quick and just pulled away for the win.
And there you look at him down at the finish line with Anderson taking the win. Look at the times as they run down the track. Anderson coming on right at the finish. In 2 weeks, it is the beginning of the Western Swing. The NHRA travels to Denver for the Mopar Mile High Nationals, and we'll have qualifying on Saturday, July 12th, NHRA race day, and the finals come up the next day on July 13th. And already we're into pro stock motorcycles. Steve Johnson and Craig Treble. And give that one to Treble. I'll tell you what, he's having quite a season. He runs a 714, 185. Runner-up at Chicago to Chris Rivas last time he won U.S. Nationals last year.
And he wins it on a whole shot. Craig Treble, 714, beats Steve Johnson, 711 at the stripe, 15/10,000ths of a second.
Let's go to Gary Gerald. He's got Greg Anderson.
Greg Anderson showing signs of satisfaction. Why not? He got beat on the tree, but you were able to run him down. Was it ever in doubt in your mind?
It's always in doubt in my mind, Gary. You can't take any one of these guys lightly. They're all sawing the tree down, and I'm getting old for this stuff. I swear to God, it's hard to do out there. It's hard for me to cut the lights these guys do, but I had a great hop out there. We chased them down, and that's my hat's off to Rob and the gang and the boys back at that engine shop. They're the ones that did it. We've got a Summit Pontiac in front. We need to see if we can finish business here. You know, it's Corey Kalitta's 15th birthday today, and you know what I want to do? I want to present a trophy to Corey Kalitta. Family's great. I love them all. And I met him the other night. The first time I met him, great kid.
Thanks. Here's a nice thought, too. Hector Arana and Eddie Craywick. Arana, well, like Eddie, this would be his third career final round. He last went to a final round in 1997. Eddie, his last was at Brainerd this last year. Just under a year ago. With a 707, 185 miles an hour. And can you believe that as he takes down Eddie Craywick?
Look at that at the stripe, about half a bike. That's a good drag race.
And at the top end, Gary Gerald has Craig Treble.
Craig Treble is thinking about, I'm going to a final. And you're going to a final against the guy who hasn't been there for a long time, and Hector Arana. What do you got in store for him?
Well, I don't know. Those guys have been running a long time, and Hector's way overdue, but, so are we. We're unsponsored right now. This is our second final this year. We got PSI and Macco Tools helping us out a little bit, and, I'm just tickled to be here. We need these valuable Powerade points as bad as anybody, so we just want to make that 10 cut by Indy.
All right. We'll see him in the finals against Hector.
And from here, we will head off to the finals. Hector Arana will face Craig Treble, and Hector will have the lane choice. What a great day this has turned out to be in pro stock motorcycle thus far. It's been, there's a lot of sadness around here this weekend, considering we're only a week away from the death of Scott Kalitta. But there are some guys who are doing very well, and will Doug Herbert be able to end his winless streak? Goes all the way back to Maple Grove, the middle of last year.
We welcome you back to Norwalk, Ohio, as we get closer now to the finals and the presentation of the coveted Wallies. Activity you're seeing in the Robert Height pit. He'll be in a battle against Tony Pemberton for the Funny Car Championship of this event at Summit Motorsports Park. And, of course, the man he faces, Tony Pemberton, who is alongside. Tony, we've seen you run 96s the last 2 rounds. Great consistency. It seems like after the rain, the weather conditions are cooling and getting better. Will you be more aggressive in the final against Robert?
Well, I think for the most part, Dickie goes up to the final round probably with a couple of different scenarios. I think the track temperature is really going to dictate what kind of setup he puts on it. We almost have to expect that there's a little more in their car. We know for a fact that there's a little more in this Q horsepower car. So, I think the end result is we're going to see how they're giving us a quick turnaround. And I think it's just a matter of him making that last-minute decision. I think we're very capable of running the low 90, and we well may need it in that final.
This is a man who's won twice this year, Gainesville and at Joliet. And, oh, by the way, he's 2-0 in finals against Robert Height. He's got that going for him.
Hey, G-Man, a little blast from the past. You remember Reggie Showers won the U.S. Nationals Pro Stock Motorcycle in 2003? Well, last week at Englishtown, Dave Reed caught up with him for a special moment.
Well, Paul, those certainly were among the best of times for the double amputee Reggie Showers, born and raised and still living in Philadelphia. When you think back about that, Reggie, I'm sure it brings back fond memories. But you're an eternal optimist, too. How you been keeping yourself busy in the meantime?
Before I answer that question, I just want to say, Dave, it's great to see you, all my NHRA family, everybody been out here. It's been really great. I'm here hanging out with Harry and Joanne Lartigue. Back home in Philadelphia, I'm staying busy with mentoring kids. I work with a lot of different nonprofit organizations. I do a lot of adaptive snowboarding, competitive snowboarding. I just recently closed a chapter. My father, he was 88 years old. He passed away 2 weeks ago. God rest your soul, Dad. I love you. And when I closed that chapter in my life, I opened another chapter with my girlfriend, Vicky. If I can introduce you, Dave, this is my sweetheart, Vicky.
Beautiful.
She is by far my best friend in the whole wide world, and God brought her to me. And, before everybody here and in the world on ESPN, Vicky, I love you so very much, sweetheart. I love you with all my heart. Would you marry me?
Yes. Yes.
She said yes, everybody. She said yes.
Who needs a U.S. national title when you got Vicky?
Man, she was double overreaction time on that question.
Oh, yeah, and then triple yesed him just to make sure he heard.
Here we go. We'll get a good look at it for you, Paul, right here.
Nice work, Dave. Nice rock. Wow. Hey, I don't know what his diet is, but I think he's getting too much sugar. He is still at it. Probably excited because finals are coming up, including in Top Fuel, where we are going to see a new first-time winner this year. It's either going to be Brandon Bernstein, or it just may be Doug Herbert. Finals coming up. And we're back in Norwalk. We're getting ready for the finals at the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals. All the finals lining up and ready to go. So, what will it look like here? Will it be Brandon Bernstein, his 26th career final? It's also number 26 for Doug Herbert. In Funny Car, Robert Height, his first final since Phoenix. Or will it be the third final victory for Tony Pedregon? Greg Anderson, Larry Morgan, season winner in Pro Stock Motorcycle. 6th different winner this season.
Take a look at that weather. Air temperature's cooling off a little bit. Comfortable 78 degrees. Water rain staying relatively nice. That track temperature over 100 degrees.
So Arana, if he can do this, would become the 36th different Pro Stock Motorcycle winner in history. As you can see, they're fighting the rain a little bit. It's his 149th race for Hector. Craig Treble, he last won at the U.S. Nationals and was runner-up at Chicago to Chris Rivas. It would be his 12th career win if he can do it.
Both these riders were running in the 7.0 range pretty much consistently. Craig Treble in the semifinals fell off just a little bit with that 7.14 elapsed time. I think he's going to have to definitely get back in that 7.0 range if he's going to want to take out Hector right now. Both riders just taking their time staging. A lot of times these races are decided right on the starting line. Pretty much dead even.
In his 149th race. Is that great or what? Pro Stock Motorcycle points then as Hector begins his celebration. And you still have Andrew Hines as #1 in the points, but we'll look down through the entire order for you and show you just how close it is, especially when you get down there at that 10th spot, currently occupied by Steve Johnson. But again, that will become critical by the U.S. Nationals. Let's go to Gary.
This is my first time over here.
Hector.
So, 1997. It's been a long time, Hector, since you've experienced this moment. Now, we heard you for a long time earlier on. We don't have a lot of time. First win ever, though. How's it feel like?
The first thing I want, where's my wallet?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there it is.
Listen, I know it's been a little while. The thing about this is I never gave up. And here it is. I want to thank the Lucas Oil, Forrest, Charlotte for trusting on me, giving me the chance. The whole family, the Lucas Oil family, the worker, they work hard and they've done everything possible so he can continue sponsoring all the drivers because he sponsors a lot. And all those fans, everyone that bought the products, I want to thank everyone. Louis, Hector, Adam, Ben, my wife. I mean,
Hector's thanking the world. Hector, we got another race coming down the track. Celebrate. I'm sorry.
I'll be here the next week then.
All right.
I love it. Continue next week.
You talk about a great attitude. Congratulations. That is a wonder. Pro Stock. It's up on the line now. The final setting on the wheelie bar for Larry Morgan as he's ready to face Greg Anderson. For Morgan, his winless streak is at 134 races. Greg Anderson has beaten Morgan the last 15 times they have raced. Whatever, Morgan would become the 9th different race winner this season if he can win. Last year we only had 6. It's time to find out. Red light for Larry Morgan. Well, he almost had to do it if you're going to beat Greg Anderson, but he did it by a pretty big number. Greg Anderson wins, takes it with a 670 with a 206 miles an hour. No parachute for Greg Anderson. Look at those brakes getting hot. Front and rear, they are glowing. Wow, let's go to Dave Brady.
Rob Downing, come over and talk to this team a couple of races ago. This was a team that was flat lost. Now, I know things didn't go the way you guys wanted them to yesterday. What has this team found to be able to win the last 2 races?
We've just been working really hard. Guys at the shop doing an incredible job. And just plugging away, trying to do things better. And from where we were here last year, it's a great day. Thank you.
I'd say you've succeeded. Gary Gerald.
All the wins that this man has, it's only the 2nd time that he's done it from the bottom half of the field. That makes it a little more special, doesn't it?
We certainly had to rake and claw today. We did not have a hot rod yesterday, and we got an extra run that everybody else didn't get yesterday, and we finally learned something on that last run. Didn't count for qualifying, but it sure taught us a whole bunch about today and about our hot rod this weekend. So came back with a great car today, ran great all day long. My hat's off to the guys. Thank you, Summit. Great to win a Summit race. I can't think of a better way to do it, man. In front of the boys at Summit, I love them guys. We've just signed a new 4-year extension on the contract. This is a great way to celebrate it. And like I said before, Corey Kalitta. I love that kid. He is a neat kid. I know where he come from. His dad's great. Connie's got a trophy from last week. The team's got one. Now Corey Kalitta's got one. That is a great kid. He's learned how to be a man in this last week. I'm very, very proud of him.
Thank you.
And what a wonderful gesture by a great champion. Greg Anderson takes the win in Pro Stock and congratulates the runner-up, Larry Morgan. He is still #1 in the points, has 52 over Kurt Johnson, who came here looking so strong, and looked down at 10th, and Warren Johnson with Dave Conley still trying to close it. And we launch right into Nitro. Here comes Tony Pendergast and Robert Height. So the Nitro finals are ready to go. First funny car and then top fuel when we come back. Here comes Nitro. There is Robert Height, the crew around John Force Racing. If he can do this, it will be his 4th win in 25 starts from the pole. He has to beat, though, Tony Pendergast. He beat Robert, Pendergast did, in Atlanta in 2006, and again, Phoenix this last year, 2007. Let's go to Stat Guy. Got something on Robert Height?
Oh, no doubt about that. Robert's looking to win his 10th race. Will become the 17th driver in funny car history to have double-digit wins. The best part about the stat, though, he would tie our very own Mike Dunn on the all-time funny car win list. Mike, you got to get back in a race car, buddy.
I'm telling you.
Soon. Getting doing it. Gary Gerald?
Quick conversation with Dickie Venables, and we were asking him about how much more aggressive did he think they might have to be for Tony Pendergast, and he said we probably need to be 5 or 6 hundredths quicker. We know they've got more. We think we've got more. Tony ran 96 in the last 2 victories.
But the wild card in this final could be the asphalt. It's been kind of a hit and miss all day once you get onto it. It's plenty good here at the starting line. Both crew chiefs definitely agree with that. But the key to this race is going to be the transition and who's able to manage that power as they get onto the asphalt.
Oh, and that's absolutely right. I got to agree with that. We saw with Doug Herberts on his graph what the teams do are taking that timing out there, which takes away horsepower. Try to keep those tires hooked up, but the key is then you got to worry about dropping cylinders. We've seen Robert Height today having some problems putting cylinders out, but he's basically been burning the engine up and burning pistons, which also puts cylinders out and drops horsepower down track.
Since we're talking about transition, how far out is it here?
Well, it's 600 feet to the end of the concrete till you transition onto that asphalt. And what they'll do is they know on a timer that the crew chiefs have to set it up ahead of time. They know at the half track they're going to be there about 3.3 seconds in a funny car. It's about 3.2, 3.25. They'll take the timing out, which will drop the RPM, take the power away. They also got to adjust the fuel curve for that, too.
And you can see that line, the change in color out there. That is the transition off of concrete onto the asphalt. It's always amazes me that these crew chiefs, like Jimmy Brock there, have to anticipate when the car will get there and set the timers accordingly. Pendergast and Height. Funny car final.
Only big advantage.
And he carries it all the way to a win. Tony Pendergast, a 488 with a 306 miles an hour. His 3rd win of the season, and that ties him with Tim Wilkerson for the most wins in the class this season. Dave Reeves got Dickie Venables.
Dickie, obviously a challenging weekend when you lose a couple of rounds of qualifying and we had all kinds of sorts of stuff. How challenging was it to get this win here today?
I tell you what, I have a hard time. I run on an OET every run. Therefore, we smoke the tires a lot. It's very hard to keep it pulled back. Hopefully, we learned something today. Very, very pleased with the way the car ran.
3rd win, congratulations.
Well, they should be pleased with the way that car ran. They tied low ET in the meet with Robert Heitz 488.2 at 306 miles per hour. They did in the final. Their driver was dead on the lights. Very good reaction time and a well-deserved win.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Tony, we were talking with you about how much more aggressive you and Dickie V might have to be. You run an 88.2, outstanding. Tell us about that run.
Well, you know, the conditions really came to us, and Dickie's real good, and he's really developed at reading the conditions, and he's getting this car down the track, and we've got the best sponsors, Q, by Quaker State. It's great to bring them back another trophy, and Snap-on Tools, and Stan Herzog, Larry Miner, Sioux City Truck, great stuff. You know, this is a great win. I'm not jumping up and down. We wear these T-shirts here because we want the Kalitta family to know that we care, and I think the time off is going to do us some good because I think we all need to heal a little bit, but it's a great sport. I'm proud to be a drag racer, and I think we're all willing to work with the sport of NHRA. There's some things that need a little bit of fixing, but hey, we make our careers doing this, so it's a great partnership. I got a lot of good companies, Crestone and Chevrolet, and hey, just a big win, but if the Kalitta family accept that, this trophy, I'd love to send it to them kids of his. Thank you.
Well said.
Well, on Top Fuel, both these guys are looking for their first wins of the season, and to end a winless streak for that man, Brandon Bernstein, his streak sits at 18-4. His competitor, that guy, Doug Herbert, he stands at 17. Last time he won was Maple Grove last year. So, pretty important moment for both of these guys, and of course it will change things point-wise once again.
You see the road to the finals for both drivers. Brandon Bernstein got lane choice by virtue of that 465 to Doug Herbert's 466 in the previous round. Yeah.
Herbert! Doug Herbert! All right, consider his tragedy, the loss of his sons earlier this year, and on to a win. Kenny Bernstein looks on.
Yeah, Kay's probably upset second we're going to lose on that hole shot. You got to look at Doug Herbert's reaction time. In 0-18 in a fuel car, you pretty much almost have to guess to get that kind of reaction time. He wasn't pretty deep also, so, you know, you got to look at the numbers that way, but still, it's a, you know, the end result is it is a whole shot victory for Doug Herbert and a whole shot loss for Brandon Bernstein.
And it ties him with Connie Kalitta on the all-time list. So, happy birthday weekend for Kevin Pointer, eh, Dave?
Oh, you know it. Taking congratulations from Marty, the one-man party. KP, you get to cut your hair, #1, but more importantly, talk about the emotion of this moment that you and your co-crew chief, Keith Stewart, are feeling.
It's a big emotion, you know. Heads up to the team. Doug over here. My grandmother passed away out there. My mother's struggling with it. And, I miss them all. I love my wife. And good job to everybody today. I mean, really struggled this past couple of races. The guys pulled through. Hats off to the safety suppliers for putting together a good track this weekend. I couldn't be prouder than NHRA. Thank you very much.
Big therapy for everybody involved on this team today.
And the emotions here at the top end already evident. Doug, an 0-18 light, just perfect off the line to get a whole shot victory. And I know this is something that you wanted so badly for your boys.
Well, we started out this year. It's called For My Boys Tour, because everybody knows about my two boys that got killed in a car accident back in January. So everybody from Snap-on Tools is behind us, and just Redline Oil, everybody that sticks with us, Redline Oil, everybody. And I beat Bernstein in 1993 at Columbus. I got my first win, and luckily we got another win here. And I just can't say enough. All the guys, Pointer and Keith, and the guys working on this car just did a tremendous job. My daughter's Jessie's here, and Jessie's brought me some good luck. And I know my boys are up there, and they're with Scott, I'm sure, right now. So, congratulations. Thank you.
Doug takes the win. What a day it has been. Just considering that a week ago the NHRA was bathed in tragedy, and for Doug Herbert, it kind of helps close the grief with the loss of his sons earlier this year. If you have any questions about the NHRA, we'd like to answer them if you'll just send them to NHRA@ESPN.com. We'll go together. Here are the top fuel point standings. Tony Schumacher is still out in front. Doug Herbert is moving up that ladder now. sitting 449 points back.
Morgan Lucas and J.R. Todd trying to make it into that all-important countdown to 10. They're just a few rounds out.
So the celebrations are underway here in Norwalk, Ohio. Funny car points. Here is the way they look at the conclusion of this event and looking ahead to the Western Swing. And Wilkerson still sits number 1, but Tony Pedregon, he jumped up 2 positions there.
And then for the top 10, you see Del Worsham less than 1 round out to get into that all-important spot.
Well, it has been a tough weekend, all considering just a week away from the death of Scott Kalitta. It was good to see Connie Kalitta come to this event, bring his cars, and get back in competition. It was good to see that all of the racers still have this